I bought this globally limited edition motorcycle for 350,000 yuan. My neighbor sold it to a scrap dealer for 3,000 yuan. He even looked proud and said he helped me get rid of trash, and asked me for 500 yuan as a service fee. I didn't lose my temper or make a scene. I just took the purchase invoice and modification list to the police station. I really want to see when the police tell him the minimum sentence is 10 years, if that old face of his can still keep smiling. My name is Joe Hung. I'm just an ordinary office worker, but I spent my entire 2 years' salary to buy a limited edition Kawasaki H2. I treasure every single part of it. The roar of its engine is the sweetest sound in the world. Every line on its body is full of power. Modifications are a total money pit. The imported Italian Brembo brake calipers cost over 10,000 yuan for a pair. The top-tier Swedish Öhlins shock absorbers cost 20,000 yuan. The full titanium alloy Akrapovic exhaust system cost another 20,000 yuan. All costs added up. The modification fees have exceeded 120,000 yuan. This bike is the proof of my youth. It's the only weapon I have against a mediocre life. I parked it downstairs in an unobtrusive corner on purpose. Every day after work, I wipe it down carefully before I'm willing to go upstairs. On the third day of parking it downstairs, I got a phone call. It was from my neighbor Wang Jianjun. He lives right across from me. He's a retired worker in his 50s. He always likes to meddle in the building's affairs. If someone doesn't take out their trash on time, or someone parks their car improperly, he has to get involved. Everyone sees he's old, so they usually don't bother arguing with him. Hello, is that Xiao Zhou? On the other end of the line, Wang Jianjun's voice sounded full of pride. Uncle Wang, it's me, what's up? That motorcycle downstairs is yours, right? My heart skipped a beat. It's mine, what's wrong? It's way too much in the way. Wang Jianjun raised his voice. It's parked there every day, taking up public space, making it hard for others to walk by. I frowned. I parked it on an empty spot next to the green belt. It doesn't block anyone at all. Uncle Wang, that spot doesn't get in anyone's way. What do you mean it doesn't? I say it's in the way, so it is. He cut me off rudely. But don't worry. I already took care of it for you. Took care of it? A bad premonition rose in my chest. What did you do with it? Sold it. Wang Jianjun's tone was full of boastfulness. I found a scrap dealer friend to help you sell it. My brain went blank with a buzz. Completely empty. Who gave him the right to sell my bike? I took a deep breath, trying my best to keep my voice steady. Uncle Wang, how much did you sell it for? 3,000 yuan. Wang Jianjun sounded like he was asking for credit. Not bad, right? It's just a broken motorcycle. 2 wheels plus a pile of scrap metal. Getting 3,000 yuan for it is great. You should thank me properly. The bike I paid 350,000 yuan for was called a 3,000 yuan broken motorcycle by him, and I'm supposed to thank him. I gripped my phone, my knuckles white from how hard I was squeezing, but I didn't lash out. My anger peaked in that instant, then cooled down quickly, turning into icy rationality. Yelling and arguing with someone like him is the stupidest way to handle this. He won't understand what a limited edition is, what Brembo is, what Öhlins is. In his world, he helped you get rid of trash and sold it for a good price. So he's your benefactor. Xiaozhou, why aren't you talking? Too happy to speak. Wang Jianjun kept chattering on the other end. Remember, you have to split this 3,000 yuan with me, half each. If it wasn't for my wide connections, your broken bike wouldn't even fetch 1,000 yuan. I didn't listen anymore. Got it, Uncle Wang? I said these 4 words in a completely flat tone. Then I hung up the phone. The room was dead silent. Sunlight came in through the window, looking a little harsh. I walked to the study and opened the drawer. A stack of documents was neatly placed in the drawer. The 230,000 yuan purchase invoice, the 120,000 yuan modification list. Every item is clearly recorded. Brand, model, price, and purchase date. I took all the printed documents and stacked them neatly together. There were 37 pages in total. I stared at this stack of papers, my eyes as calm as a deep pool of water. Wang Jianjun, you chose this path yourself. If you think it's only worth 3,000 bucks, then let the law tell you how much it's actually worth. The next day I took a day off work, took that thick stack of documents, and walked into the nearest police station from my home. A young police officer surnamed Li received me. Comrade, what can I do for you? Officer Li poured me a glass of water. Officer, I'm here to report a case. My motorcycle was stolen. Officer Lee nodded and took out his record notebook. Full name, ID number. I told him all the info one by one. Tell me what happened. When and where did you lose the bike? Yesterday afternoon? Right downstairs from my apartment. What brand is the motorcycle? How long have you had it? Do you have the purchase receipt? Officer Lee asked while taking notes. This was obviously a standard procedure. For local police stations, cases of stolen e-bikes or motorcycles are the most common type of reports. Kawasaki Ninja H2 Limited Edition. Oh, Kawasaki. Officer Lee nodded. He clearly had no idea about this brand. I brought the receipt and all related proofs. As I said that, I placed the documents in my hand, on the desk right in front of him. The stack of documents was really thick. Officer Lee was obviously a bit surprised. He picked up the purchase receipt on the top. When he saw the text saying 230,000 yuan exactly, his hand visibly paused for a second. He looked up, with a hint of shock in his eyes, and looked me up and down again. Comrade, are you sure this receipt is real? Of course. I pushed my ID and purchase contract over to him. All the owner info is under my name. You can check and verify it. Officer Lee's expression turned serious. He picked up the documents and flipped through them page by page. Brembo brake calipers, 12,000 yuan. Olin's rear shock absorber, 21,000 yuan. Akrapovich full exhaust system, 23,000 yuan. His page-turning speed got slower and slower. The look on his face got more and more solemn. When he flipped to the last page and saw the total sum marked as 350,000 yuan, he sucked in a sharp breath. Another older police officer next to him also leaned over to look at the documents on the desk, looking equally shocked. This isn't just a stolen motorcycle, the older officer mumbled to himself. This is a major theft case. The huge jump in the case value completely changed the nature of the whole incident. Officer Lee stood up immediately. Comrade, please wait here for a moment. I need to report this to our station chief. He took that stack of documents and hurried to the inner office. I knew things were going exactly as I expected. A stolen motorcycle worth a few $1,000 and a stolen motorcycle worth 350,000 yuan have totally different priority levels for the police. For the former, they might just register it and tell you to go home and wait for updates. For the latter, they have to set up a special task force and solve the case within a deadline. A few minutes later, a middle-aged man with 2 bars and 1 star on his shoulder walked out with Officer Lee. Mr. Zhou, right. I'm the chief of Chengxi Police Station. My last name is Zhang. Hello, Chief Zhang. I stood up. Xiaoli already told me the situation. Chief Zhang pointed at the documents on the desk. We will copy all these materials and file them as evidence. Your case involves an extremely high value, and the nature is severe. Our station takes this very seriously. We will set up a special task force immediately to investigate and get your bike back as soon as possible. I nodded. Thank you, Chief Zhang. But I have a pretty good idea who stole my bike. Chief Zhang's eyes lit up a little. Oh, who is it? My neighbor Wang Jianjun. Then I recounted every detail of the phone call. I got from Wang Jianjun yesterday word for word. After I finished speaking, the office went completely silent. Chief Zhang frowned tightly. You mean to tell me your neighbor stole your 350,000 yuan worth of, sold the motorcycle as scrap for 3,000 yuan? Yeah, that's what he said on the phone. He even asked you to give him 1/500 as a cut. Yep. Director Zhang fell silent. He's been a cop for so many years. I bet he's never heard of anything this ridiculous. This isn't just a simple theft case. It's straight up stupidity. It's ignorance and it's greed. Does this count as theft? Or embezzlement? Or illegal disposal of other people's property? Officer Lee whispered to the veteran cop next to him. The veteran cop shook his head. No matter what the charge is, the case involves over 300,000 yuan. The sentence won't be light. It's at least 10 years in prison. The word 10 years came out of the veteran cop's mouth so casually, but to me it carried the weight of justice. Director Zhang picked up the phone on his desk and dialed a number. Attention all units. Assemble downstairs in 3 minutes. Get ready to head out. He hung up the phone and looked at me, a hint of sympathy and admiration in his eyes. Mr. Zhou, you stayed very calm. You handled this really well. You didn't escalate the conflict in private. You chose to trust the law instead. That's the right thing to do. Leave the rest to us. I nodded. I knew the good show was just getting started. I walked out of the office and saw several cops already in full uniform. Getting ready to leave. Officer Lee nodded at me. Let's go meet this Wang Jianjun. The police car didn't turn on the siren. A black Santana quietly parked downstairs of our apartment complex. Director Zhang, Officer Lee, 2 other cops, and I got out of the car together. It was the middle of the afternoon. Lots of elders and kids were hanging around the complex when they saw a few people in police uniforms walking straight towards our building. Everyone's eyes were drawn to us. We went upstairs and stopped in front of Wang Jianjun's door. Officer Lee stepped forward and knocked on the door. Who is it? Wang Jianjun's impatient voice came from inside. Police, open the door. Officer Lee's voice was clear and firm. The noise inside stopped abruptly. After about 10 seconds, the door opened just a crack. Wang Jianjun stuck half his head out, and when he saw the cops at the door and me standing behind them, he froze for a second. Officers, who are you looking for? We're looking for you, Wang Jianjun. Director Zhang stepped forward and showed his badge. There's a theft case that requires your cooperation for investigation. Theft case. Wang Jianjun's eyes darted around. He opened the door, pointed at me, and yelled at the cops. Oh, you're here for that lousy motorcycle, right? Officers, you have to judge this for me. This kid doesn't appreciate a good turn. I was kind enough to help him get rid of that space-wasting trash downstairs, and he even called the police. Have you ever seen anyone act like this? He sounded so self-righteous, like he was the real victim here. The neighbors nearby heard the commotion and opened their doors to crowd around and watch the show. What's going on? Why are there so many cops at Old Wang's place? Looks like it's about a motorcycle. It's the new one Xiaozhou bought, right? It was super nice. How is it trash? Faced with Wang Jianjun's false accusations, I didn't say a word. I just watched him put on his act quietly. Director Zhang looked at him expressionlessly. Wang Jianjun, we're going to ask you a few questions. You have to answer truthfully. Did you sell the motorcycle you just mentioned? Yeah, I did. Wang Jianjun pounded his chest. I sold it for 3,000 yuan. I was even going to give him 1/500 of it. But this kid, he just called the cops directly. Who gave you the right to sell someone else's property? Director Zhang's voice turned cold. What right? That lousy bike was taking up public space. As a resident of this complex, I have every right to deal with it. Wang Jianjun spoke with confidence. Besides, I didn't handle it for nothing. I sold it and got him money, didn't I? I was helping him. Some of the onlooking neighbors already started snickering. This kind of logic was simply unheard of. Director Zhang didn't waste any more words on him. He took a document from Officer Lee's hand and unfolded it in front of him. Wang Jianjun, look carefully with your eyes wide open. This is provided by the vehicle owner, Mr. Zhou Heng, vehicle purchase invoice and modification list. This bike was purchased for 230,000 yuan. The modification cost is 124,000 yuan. That adds up to 354,000 yuan in total. According to Article 264 of the Criminal Law of China, if the value of stolen public or private property is extremely high, the offender shall be sentenced to over 10 years of imprisonment or life imprisonment. Every word from Director Zhang hit like a heavy hammer, smashing hard right on Wang Jianjun's face. Wang Jianjun stared fixedly at the document, the smugness and arrogance on his face. The moment he saw the long string of zeros, froze instantly. His mouth was slightly open, making faint weird sounds from his throat, like something was stuck inside. No way. His voice was trembling. A motorcycle? How can it cost over 300,000 yuan? You're lying. You're all ganging up to trick me. Right at this moment, his wife Li Kuihua ran out of the house too. What's wrong, Lao Wang? What happened? When she saw the police at the door and the onlooking neighbors, she panicked too. Officer, is there some kind of misunderstanding here? Our Lao Wang is a very honest man. Director Zhang glanced at her coldly. Misunderstanding? He sold your neighbor's 350,000 yuan bike for 3,000 yuan. You call that a misunderstanding? Li Kuihua's eyes widened instantly. 3,000 yuan. Her scream echoed through the entire hallway. It felt like the whole world went still at this moment. All the onlooking neighbors gasped in shock. Their looks at me turned from sympathy to shock, then to awe. No one expected that the motorcycle parked quietly downstairs was actually worth the down payment for a house. Wang Jianjun's face had completely lost all color. He leaned against the doorframe, his body swaying unsteadily. 350,000 yuan, over 10 years of imprisonment. These two phrases were like two huge mountains. instantly crushing all his psychological defenses. Lao Wang, who did you sell the bike to? Li Qiwa came to her senses, grabbed Wang Jianjun's arm and shook it wildly. Hurry! Go get the bike back right now. It's over 300,000 yuan. How can we ever afford to pay for that? Wang Jianjun's lips were trembling. Unable to say a single word for ages, Officer Li stepped forward, his tone stern. Wang Jianjun, right now. Tell us immediately who you sold the bike to and where the buyer is. Wang Jianjun's eyes were completely lifeless. He looked at his wife and spat out a few words in despair. I sold it to a scrap collector. I can't track him down anymore. And I lost all the money gambling. Li Qiwa burst out crying loudly. She collapsed onto the ground, crawled over to me on all fours, and grabbed onto my pant leg. Shoshu no... Mr. Zhou, please have mercy. Let our Lao Wang off this time, please. He's just a confused old man. He doesn't know any better. Her sobs were heartbreaking, filled with despair, her face covered in tears and snot. With none of the arrogance she had just moments ago, the surrounding neighbors were pointing and whispering among themselves. Tomaring him with 1,000 yuan, oh my god. Lao Wang really messed with the wrong person this time. That's not just messing with the wrong person. He jumped straight into a shredder, serves him right. He's always the one taking petty advantages. Well now, karma finally caught up to him. I looked down at Li Qiwa at my feet. My expression didn't change at all. Pathetic. Maybe a little, but every pitiful person has done something to deserve it. If my bike was only worth 3,000 yen today, would she be acting like this? She'd just be standing with Wang Jianjun, on their moral high horse mocking me, calling me an immature kid, and happily taking the 1,500 yuan kickback without any guilt. I lifted my foot gently and pulled away from her grip. Save those words for the judge. My voice wasn't loud, but it was clearly heard by everyone present. Li Qiwa froze, looking at me in disbelief. She probably didn't expect that I'd be so cold and unforgiving. At a time like this, Director Zhang gave Officer Li a signal with his eyes. Officer Li and another policeman stepped forward and held up the dazed Wang Jianjun from both sides. Wang Jianjun, you are suspected of theft. We are summoning you in accordance with the law. Please come back to the station with us for investigation. A pair of cold handcuffs was clamped around Wang Jianjun's wrists. That crisp click felt like the final verdict for all the arrogant and unreasonable acts of his first half of life. Wang Jianjun went limp all over and was almost dragged away by the two officers. His eyes were glazed over, and he kept muttering to himself, Impossible. How could it be 350,000? That's impossible. Li Qiwa tried to rush forward, but was stopped by a female police officer. Officer, you can't arrest him. He's old, and his health is poor. Director Zhang glanced at her and said seriously, This is a society ruled by law now, not a place for you to take advantage of your seniority. He broke the law, so he has to take responsibility. What you should do now is not wailing and making a scene here, but to find a way to contact the buyer and get the car back. Voluntarily returning the stolen property is the only chance for a reduced sentence. With that, Director Zhang ignored her, turned to me and said, Mr. Zhou, please also come back to the station with us to make a detailed statement. I nodded. The group walked downstairs in full view of everyone. The downstairs was already full of onlooking neighbors. When they saw Wang Jianjun being escorted out by the police in handcuffs, the crowd immediately burst into commotion. I followed behind. With a calm expression, I heard people talking about me. This young guy is so ruthless. He doesn't show any mercy at all. Ruthless? If your stuff worth over 300,000 got sold by someone else, see if you'd be ruthless too. Exactly, you can't go soft on this kind of old rascal. I don't care about their comments. After getting in the police car, Officer Li was in charge of taking my statement. I told the whole story, from buying the car to modifying it, to Wang Jianjun calling me, and then me calling the police, in full detail. I explained every single detail clearly. Meanwhile, Director Zhang personally interrogated Wang Jianjun, but Wang Jianjun had already had a mental breakdown. He only kept repeating those same lines. Impossible. I don't know. I didn't do it on purpose. As for the scrap collector, he only knew the man's last name was Liu, who usually hangs around several nearby communities. He had no phone number for him, and had no idea where he lived either. The trail seemed to go cold here. Director Zhang came out of the interrogation room looking a bit solemn. Mr. Zhou, the situation isn't looking great. We can't get any useful clues from Wang Jianjun. If that car really gets dismantled as scrap iron, the loss will be irreversible. I looked at him and spoke slowly. Director Zhang, I believe that justice has a long arm. It may be slow, but always catches up. The surveillance cameras in the community and nearby intersections should have captured the scrap collector's tricycle. Director Zhang's eyes lit up. Right. I'll arrange for someone to pull the surveillance footage right away. He took action immediately. The entire police station started operating at full speed. Just then, my phone rang. Hello, is this Joe Hung? It was a young man's voice on the other end of the line, his tone a mix of anxiety and arrogance. Speaking. I'm Wang Bin, Wang Jianmin's son. I heard from my mom. It's just a motorcycle, right? What's the big deal? Look, I'll compensate you 50,000 yen. You go to the police station and drop the case now, and let my dad go. 50,000. I almost burst out laughing. Sure enough, people from the same family end up under the same roof. His dad sold a 350,000 yuan car for 3,000, and he thinks 50,000 can fix the whole mess. You think my car is only worth 50,000? How much can a motorcycle even cost? 50,000 is more than enough. Wang Bin's tone was very impatient. Don't be ungrateful when I'm being nice to you. Let me tell you, if anything happens to my dad, you won't get off easy either. That was a blatant threat. I didn't get angry. I laughed instead. Sure, I'll be waiting. Also, a friendly reminder for you. This call of yours is suspected of threatening a reporter and obstructing justice. Besides, I'm recording this call. I hung up right after I finished speaking. Wang Bin on the other end of the line must have been livid. I played the recording on my phone right in front of Director Zhang. Director Zhang's face instantly turned thunderously dark. Fine. The Wang family sure is something. The old one is ignorant and reckless. The young one is arrogant and aggressive. They are openly provoking the law. He picked up the walkie-talkie. His voice was ice cold. Tech team immediately tracked the location of this phone number. Tactical team, get ready! Today I'll make sure their whole family all shows up here together. The surveillance footage was pulled up very quickly. The efficiency of the West City Police Station, fueled by Director Zhang's rage, hit an all-time high. The camera at the community entrance clearly captured the footage from yesterday afternoon. A beat-up electric three-wheeler, carrying a motorcycle covered with canvas, slowly drove out of the community. Even though it was covered with canvas, its unique shape and size was exactly that of my Ninja H2. That's him, I said as I pointed at the man in the straw hat on the screen. Zoom in on the footage. Capture a clear facial image. Director Zhang ordered. The tech staff got to work immediately. A relatively clear side profile. Photo was printed out. Take this photo and visit several nearby scrap yards and local communities. Dig this guy out for me no matter what. Several teams of officers took the order and left right away. I stayed at the station waiting for updates. The waiting was absolute torture. I had no idea what state my bike was in. Had it been torn into pieces? Or hidden away in some corner? I didn't dare to imagine the worst-case scenario. About an hour later, Director Zhang's walkie-talkie went off. Reporting to Director we found the guy at a large scrap recycling plant on the city outskirts. Where's the bike? Director Zhang asked anxiously. The bike is here too. It's completely undamaged. Hearing the words completely undamaged, my tensed-up nerves finally relaxed. It felt like all strength was drained out of me, and I leaned back in my chair. Thank goodness. I let out a long sigh of relief. A smile also appeared on Director Zhang's face. Let's go, Mr. Zhou. Let's go check it out together. We immediately drove to the scrap recycling plant on the outskirts. The car bounced along a bumpy dirt road for more than 10 minutes. Before we finally arrived at the destination, the scene before us was quite spectacular. All kinds of scrap metal, plastic, and cardboard were piled up into small hills. The air reeked of a weird mixed smell of rust and motor oil. My Ninja H2 parked here looked like a prince that had wandered into a slum. Under a huge tin shed, my bike was covered by an even larger tarp. Several police officers were guarding it nearby. The scrapyard owner, surnamed Liu, was squatting on the ground, being questioned, looking completely dejected. I walked quickly over and yanked the tarp off. The familiar Kawasaki green came into my view again. The bike body was a bit dirty, covered with some dust. There was a light scratch on the left rearview mirror. Other than that, Everything was in perfect condition. The Brembo calipers, Olin suspension, and a Krapovich exhaust pipe were all still there. I reached out my hand and gently stroked the cold bike body. All sorts of feelings welled up in my heart. It felt like a precious treasure I had lost and found again. Officer Lee was taking a statement from Boss Liu. "Tell me what happened," Boss Liu said with a miserable look on his face. "Officer, I'm innocent. That guy surnamed Wang swore to me. This was a broken bike his son didn't want anymore, said it was taking up too much space, and asked me to get rid of it. I thought the bike looked really nice, so I asked him a bit more about it. He said I could take it away right now for 3,000 yuan. I was confused at the time, too. This bike doesn't look like scrap no matter how you look at it, but I thought it was a too good deal to pass up. Who would say no to that? So I gave him 3,000 yuan and hauled it back here." Officer Lee snorted coldly. "This is a typical case of receiving stolen property. You knew the item had an unclear origin, yet you bought it at a low price." Boss Liu waved his hands hurriedly. "I never intended to receive stolen goods. After I hauled it back, the more I looked at it, the more off it felt. This bike is way too new. I don't recognize any of the parts on it, but they look super expensive. I'm just a scrap collector. How dare I take apart a car like this? I just wanted to hide it first, until the heat dies down, then find someone who knows cars to check it out. See if I can sell it for a good price, I swear." I never even started the engine once. His words indirectly confirmed how valuable my car is. Even a scrap collector can tell this car is no ordinary vehicle. Only an ignorant and arrogant guy like Wang Jianjun would treat it like a pile of scrap metal. Director Zhang walked over to me and patted me on the shoulder. "Mr. Zhou, we didn't let you down. We found your car." "Thank you so much, Director Zhang and all the officers," I said gratefully from the bottom of my heart. "This is what we're supposed to do?" Director Zhang replied. "Next, this car needs to be treated as evidence related to the case. We will keep it in temporary custody. Once the case trial is finished, it will be returned to its rightful owner." I nodded to show I understood. "Also for the vehicle damage part, we'll have a professional appraisal agency assess its value as evidence for your future civil compensation claim." That scratch on the rearview mirror was probably caused during transportation. I said, "It's not just the scratch. This is a limited edition car. Any unauthorized moving or storage could cause potential damage to the car's paintwork, circuits, and performance. All of these need a full inspection and assessment." What I said sounded very professional. Director Zhang was stunned for a second, then nodded. "You're right. We will pass on your comments fully to the appraisal agency. At this point, we caught the culprit with the stolen goods. The evidence is irrefutable. Wang Jianjun's theft charge is as good as confirmed. As for Boss Liu, although he can't avoid the charge of selling stolen goods, but since he cooperated voluntarily and the car is in good condition, he should get a lighter sentence." Right at that moment, another team of police sent news. Wang Jianjun's son Wang Bin was found at his own company and was brought back to the police station. Director Zhang looked at me and smiled. "Mr. Zhou, today's going to be quite a show. Come on, let's go back and see what that kid has to say." We went back to the police station. Just as we walked through the door, we saw a young man in a suit, with slicked back shiny hair, sitting impatiently on a chair in the waiting area. That was Wang Bin. Next to him, Li Kuihua was sobbing and talking to him about something. When he saw me walk in, Wang Bin stood up immediately and rushed right up to me. "Are you Zhou Heng?" He looked me up and down, with nothing but contempt in his eyes. "I'll give you one more chance. 100,000 yuan to settle this privately, or I'll make sure you can't survive in this city." I looked at Wang Bin in front of me and found it kind of funny. He clearly had no idea what was going on, or maybe in his whole life up until now, he's always used money and status to solve all his problems. He thought 100,000 yuan plus a single threat would make me give in. Wang Bin, right? I looked at him calmly. "Before you open your mouth again, I suggest you look up two legal concepts first. First, what constitutes an especially large amount in theft crimes. Second, what the public prosecution principle for criminal cases is. Criminal cases aren't something you can settle privately whenever you want." My words made Wang Bin's face stiffen. He obviously didn't expect me to talk about law with him. "Don't give me that crap," he snapped, furious and embarrassed. "You just want more money, right? Why act all high and mighty? 200,000 yuan, that's my final offer. if you still don't know what's good for you. Don't blame me for being rude. Just then, Director Zhang walked over from behind, his face livid with anger. Wang Bin? His voice wasn't loud, but it was full of authority. This is a police station, not the company your family runs. You're yelling loudly here, threatening the reporter of the case. Who gave you the guts to do this? When Wang Bin saw the police rank on Director Zhang's shoulder, his arrogance immediately deflated by half. I didn't threaten him. I just wanted to negotiate a solution with him. Negotiate? Director Zhang let out a cold sneer. Your dad stole 350,000 yuan worth of property from him, and you're offering 200,000 yuan to negotiate. You're really good at math, aren't you? And let's not forget you just threatened Mr. Zhou on the phone. We have a recording of that call right here. Obstruction of justice. Plus malicious defamation on top of that. You want to go keep your dad company in lockup, huh? Every word from Director Zhang hit like a sledgehammer. Right on Wang Bin's chest. Cold sweat broke out on Wang Bin's forehead. He finally realized this situation was nothing like the tiny little troubles he'd run into before. Next to him, Li Kuihua was already too scared to cry. She was just shaking nonstop. Officer, sir. It's all a misunderstanding. All a big misunderstanding. Wang Bin's tone softened immediately, forcing a smile that looked worse than a cry. I just got back from a work trip out of town. I don't know what's going on yet. I just acted on impulse. Please don't hold it against me. My dad, he really didn't do it on purpose. He's just senile, that's all. Director Zhang didn't buy his excuses at all. Whether it was intentional or not, the law will decide that fairly. Right now, Wang Jianjun is suspected of theft. Mr. Liu is suspected of selling stolen goods, and you're suspected of obstruction of justice. All of you need to come in for investigation. Shaoli, take this mother and son to the interrogation room too. Question them separately. Officer Li walked up to Wang Bin, and his mother making a please gesture. Wang Bin's face went completely pale. He looked over at me like he was begging for help. I just gave him a look that said I couldn't help him. If you'd known how this would end. You never should have done what you did. After the whole family was taken away, the office finally went quiet. Director Zhang poured me a glass of water. Sorry you had to see all that, Mr. Zhou. No big deal. The world's full of all kinds of awful people. Director Zhang sighed. Yeah, this family has been way too spoiled. I had someone look up this Wang Bin just now. He runs a small company himself. He's used to pushing people around outside. Always thinks money can fix every problem. This time we're gonna make him get a proper re-education on how a society ruled by law works. The rest of the process went smoothly as expected. Wang Jianjun fully admitted to all the facts of his theft crime. Boss Liu also admitted he was greedy for small gains and bought a vehicle of unknown origin at a low price. Wang Bin and Li Kuihua, faced with the recorded evidence and the authority of the law, also confessed everything honestly, since the evidence chain was complete. And the facts were clear. The case was quickly transferred to the procuratorate. I also officially hired a lawyer on my end to handle the follow-up civil compensation lawsuit. My demands are very simple. First, hold Wang Jianjun criminally responsible. No forgiveness whatsoever. Second, demand Wang Jianjun compensate all my economic losses. This includes the vehicle's depreciation cost, professional inspection and repair costs, as well as all transportation costs incurred. While I couldn't use my car after it was stolen and other related expenses, my lawyer carefully reviewed all of my receipts and evidence and gave me an estimated compensation amount, 400,000 RMB, if not more. When the news got to Wang Bin, it said he immediately smashed an antique vase at his home. Over the next few days, I became a celebrity in my community. Everyone looked at me with total respect. No one dared to park randomly in front of my door anymore, or dump trash in the hallway. It seemed like the whole community's atmosphere improved a lot. The Wang Jianjun family, on the other hand, were treated like hated rats everyone avoided. The whole family tried every trick they could think of. First, they asked all kinds of relatives and friends to intercede. I refused to see all of them. Then Wang Bin tried to throw money at the problem. The compensation offer went up from 200K to 300K, then 350K. I had my lawyer turn them all down directly. This isn't about money. This is about principles. Some people you have to beat hard enough once to scare them for good, so they learn what respect means. When both nice and tough tactics didn't work, they came up with a new trick, playing the victim. Li Kuihua sat at the entrance of our apartment building every day, crying to everyone who passed by, saying I wouldn't let them off easy even though I was in the right, and was trying to drive their whole family to ruin. Some people who didn't know the truth or loved playing peacemaker. Elderly neighbors started talking behind my back. Moral coercion is always the cheapest weapon for some people. Faced with all this, I didn't argue with anyone. I just quietly printed out one document and stuck it on the building's bulletin board. It was the arrest warrant for Wang Jianjun, issued by the Procuratorate. I also added a line of handwritten text. Underneath it, "Ignorance is not an excuse for breaking the law. Everyone is equal before the law." In front of the bulletin board, my statement became the hottest topic in the community. The copy of the arrest warrant was more powerful than any argument. Those neighbors who used to tell me to be the bigger person are all avoiding me now. There's a mix of awe in their eyes, and a faint, barely noticeable fear. It's not me they're afraid of. What scares them is the way I don't play by the usual rules, but still act fully within legal boundaries. Li Kuihua's crying has also disappeared. She no longer sits at the building entrance playing the victim, because everyone who walks past the bulletin board gives her a look of disgust. But I know this is just the calm before the storm. The Wang family won't let this go that easily. Especially Wang Bin, that young man who's used to solving problems with money and power to get whatever he wants. After he was released from the police station, he hasn't contacted me even once. That's not normal. Knowing his personality, he's either going to do something desperate or cooking up an even worse scheme behind my back. I didn't let my guard down. I gave my lawyer a call and told him about my concerns regarding Wang Bin. The lawyer reminded me to be extra careful and pay attention to protecting my personal safety. At the same time, he also told me the criminal lawsuit has already entered the public prosecution process of the Procuratorate. Wang Jianjun is almost definitely going to jail. Our civil lawsuit on our end has also been submitted. We're just waiting for the trial. Everything is moving in a positive direction, but that uneasy feeling in my gut is only getting stronger. I went to work at the company as usual on Monday. The company I work for is a mid-sized internet enterprise that provides enterprise services. I'm a project manager. It's a mid-level position. It's not exactly an easy job, but it's pretty respectable. Right after I arrived at the company, I could feel something was off with the atmosphere. My colleagues were avoiding eye contact with me. A few I'm usually close with looked like they wanted to say something but held back. My heart sank. Sure enough, it's here. I went back to my workstation and had just turned on my computer when a colleague from the admin department walked over. "Joe Hung, President Chen wants you to go to his office." President Chen is the boss of our company, a sharp, capable man in his 40s. He rarely reaches out to staff at my level for a direct talk. Looks like Wang Bin's tricks have already reached the company. I took a deep breath, smoothed out my clothes, and headed to the general manager's office. The office door was open. President Chen was sitting in his executive chair. His face was calm. I couldn't tell if he was happy or angry. "President Chen, you asked for me." Take a seat." He pointed at the chair across from him. I sat down, sitting up straight. I didn't take the initiative to explain because I knew before I came here. Wang Bin definitely already gave an exaggerated version of events to President Chen. Now it all depends on who President Chen believes. We sat in silence for about half a minute. Before President Chen finally spoke, "Joe Heng, I got a call today. From Wang Bin of Dingsheng Group. Dingsheng Group is the name of Wang Bin's company. It sounds pretty intimidating, but actually it's just a small company that works in the downstream supply chain, but they've been negotiating a cooperation project with our company recently. If the deal goes through, it's a pretty big order for our company. He told me a lot of things about you." President Chen's gaze landed on my face, as if he wanted to read something from my expression. He said you bullied people using your power and threw an elderly neighbor of yours in jail. He also said you engaged in extortion and made an outrageous demand for 400,000 RMB in compensation. He said you have bad character, and keeping you in the company would be a risk for us. He was repeating Wang Bin's words in a very flat tone, but I could tell under that calm hid the scrutiny of a decision maker. Whether I stay or go might depend entirely on his next call. I didn't rush to refute. I waited until he finished speaking before I spoke slowly. "President Chen, did he tell you what that neighbor of mine did to me?" President Chen shook his head. "He only said it was a small neighborhood dispute." I laughed. "I own a motorcycle that I paid 350,000 RMB for. My neighbor took advantage of my absence and sold it as scrap for 3,000 RMB. Then he called me and asked me to give him 1,500 RMB as a benefit cut. After that, his son, who is Wang Bin, called and threatened me, demanded 50,000 yuan to settle this privately. After I turned him down, he went to the police station again. Right in front of the police, he threatened to make me unable to get by in this city. Has he told you all this? With every word I said, Mr. Chen frowned a little more. When I finished talking, his face already looked pretty upset. I reached into my briefcase and pulled out a stack of papers. They were the same ones I gave the police earlier, including purchase invoice, modification list, and import declaration form. I gently placed all of them on Mr. Chen's office desk. I also took out my phone and opened an audio recording file. Let me tell you something. If anything happens to my dad, you won't get off easy either. Wang Bin's arrogant and aggressive voice sounded extra jarring in the quiet office. Mr. Chen's face was way worse than just upset. It was positively gloomy. He picked up the documents on the desk, flipping through them quickly. When he saw those sheets of super expensive modification part lists, a flicker of surprise showed in his eyes. After he finished listening to the recording, he looked up at me, and his expression changed. "Joe Hung, you're also a car enthusiast, right?" I froze for a second, then realized what he meant. "Mr. Chen, you know about cars too." Mr. Chen smiled, stood up and walked to the cabinet in the corner of the office. He opened the cabinet door. There were no documents inside, just all kinds of delicate car models. One of them was clearly a Porsche 911 GT3 RS. I loved playing with cars when I was young too, but as I got older, I didn't have that much energy for it anymore. This is the only hobby I have left. He picked up that 911 model and wiped it gently. Brembo brakes, Olin's shock absorbers. People who are into this stuff are either reckless newbies or people who are absolutely passionate about machinery and performance. I think you're the latter type. As he spoke, he turned around and looked at me again. You handled this really well. When faced with stupidity and arrogance, you should use the calmest, sharpest weapon to teach them a lesson they'll never forget. Our company needs employees like you who are principled, rule-abiding, and logical, not idiots like Wang Bin, who are arrogant and act above the law. A huge weight was finally lifted off my chest. I'd made the right bet. Mr. Chen is a reasonable person who has his own sense of judgment. As for the cooperation with Dingsheng Group, Mr. Chen sat back in his chair, picked up the phone on his desk, and dialed the internal line. Immediately terminate the cooperation project with Dingsheng Group. The reason? Working with a company that tries to use business cooperation to interfere with our internal personnel matters and threatens our employees makes me uneasy. I'm worried that one day they'll use the same tactics to threaten our company. He hung up the phone, looked at me and gave me an approving smile. Joe Hung, this incident is a wake-up call for me, and you helped the company defuse a bomb ahead of time. When I walked out of Mr. Chen's office, even the sunlight felt brighter. I ran into a few colleagues coming the other way. The expressions on their faces changed from worry and sympathy to curiosity and admiration. Apparently, the news that Mr. Chen terminated the cooperation with Dingsheng Group had already spread around the company. I didn't explain much, just nodded at them, and went back to my seat. I knew Wang Bin's attempt to sabotage my career had completely failed. Not only did he fail, he shot himself in the foot. For a small company of his size, our company is a pretty important potential client. Losing this contract is definitely a huge blow for him. And this is just the beginning. My lawyer called me in the afternoon. Mr. Zhou, I've got good news for you. The damage assessment report for your car is out. The result is even better than we expected. There was a hint of excitement in the lawyer's voice. How so? The assessment agency is super professional. They not only estimated the repair cost for the scratch on the rearview mirror, they also accepted the proposal we put forward earlier about the potential damage to the limited edition vehicle caused by unauthorized moving and storage. The report states that this car was handled by unprofessional people transported with unprofessional tools and methods, and stored in harsh environments, which led to many tiny scratches on the paintwork that are barely visible to the naked eye. Meanwhile, the vehicle's precision electronic system also faces risks of moisture damage and dust buildup. The report recommends performing the top-tier, full deep clean, maintenance and system inspection for the car, adding all related costs together. The assessed direct economic loss reaches 48,000 yuan. That doesn't include the vehicle's value depreciation on the second-hand market caused by this theft. For this hidden loss, the appraisal institution also issued an official expert opinion. It is estimated to be between 10% and 15% of the car's total value. That means just counting the loss on the vehicle itself. We can claim for at least 80,000 yuan or more. Listening to the lawyer's analysis, my respect for this professional grew even more in my heart. Sure enough, professional work should always be handled by people who are good at it. That's not even the most important part. The lawyer continued. The most crucial thing is, this report will serve as the sentencing reference for the criminal case and be submitted to the People's Procuratorate along with other files. Originally, since the vehicle was recovered, the court might have given a lighter sentence, but now with this appraisal report that proves severe damage was caused, Wang Jianjun's guilt is even more firmly confirmed. He definitely won't get away with less than 10 years in prison. I hung up the phone with mixed feelings. I'm not a cruel person, and I don't want to ruin anyone's life on purpose. But from the moment Wang Jianjun sold my car, he should have to face the most severe consequences for his actions. Ignorance and stupidity are never valid excuses to avoid punishment. Over the next few days, Wang Bin completely disappeared without a trace. I heard that Dingsheng Group's capital chain seems to have run into problems. Mr. Chen carries a lot of weight in that whole business circle. People take his word seriously. He spread the word publicly that Wang Bin from Dingsheng Group has terrible character and crosses moral lines when doing business. Many companies that originally planned to cooperate with Wang Bin have started to reevaluate the cooperation risks. The butterfly effect has started to show. Wang Bin is probably completely swamped with trouble and can't even bother to come harass me anymore. Li Kuihua also seems to have accepted her fate. She never showed up again and didn't send anyone to plead for mercy either. That's just how the world works. When you show you are tough enough and stick to your principles, all those little annoying pests will leave you alone naturally. The civil lawsuit trial is scheduled for 1 month later. Wang Jianjun's criminal case is processed much faster. On the day of the trial, I also attended as the victim. In the courtroom, I saw Wang Jianjun again. In less than a month, he looked like he had aged over 10 years. Over half of his hair turned white. He was completely hunched over, his eyes full of fear and despair. When the public prosecutor read the indictment and described how he disposed of my motorcycle without permission and how he caused severe damage to it, one detail after another, he was trembling all over his body. When my lawyer presented the 350,000 yuan invoice and nearly 50,000 yuan vehicle damage report as evidence to the court, a collective gasp came from the public gallery. Wang Jianjun's defense lawyer tried to argue that he had no subjective intention to steal, and it was just a mistake out of ignorance plus other points. But these arguments were totally weak. When facing the ironclad evidence, the judge asked Wang Jianjun, "Defendant, do you realize your actions were wrong?" Wang Jianjun lifted his head, his cloudy eyes looking towards me. His lips were trembling. "I'm wrong, I'm really wrong. I shouldn't have touched your car. I shouldn't have been greedy for small gains." His voice was cracking with sobs. This was the first time I saw him show any remorse. It's just a shame it's too late. The court is not a street market, and justice is not a product you can haggle over. During the final statement session, I chose not to speak because I thought there was no need to say anything more. The facts have already spoken for themselves. The judge announced the verdict in court. Defendant Wang Jianjun is found guilty of theft of property of especially huge value and caused severe consequences. The facts are clear. The evidence is conclusive. Considering his crime circumstances and remorse performance, he is sentenced to 11 years of fixed-term imprisonment with 3 years of deprivation of political rights and a fine of 50,000 yuan. Wang Jianjun's eyes rolled back and collapsed directly on the defendant's stand. Li Cuihua's wails came from the corner of the public gallery, sounding absolutely heartbroken. I stood up and didn't look back. Walked out of the courtroom calmly. The sky outside was really blue. I knew Wang Jianjun's trial was over, but for Wang Bin and his whole family, the trial has only just begun. They still have to pay 400,000 yuan in civil compensation. After Wang Jianjun's verdict was announced, the Wang family's whole world fell apart completely. An 11-year prison sentence. For a man in his 50s, says it all, no extra explanation needed. Li Kuihua got seriously ill. I heard she stayed in the hospital for over half a month. Wang Bin, on the other hand, faced a more practical problem. Money-wise, his dad got a 50,000 won fine. On my end, the 400,000 won civil compensation lawsuit also opened as scheduled. In court, Wang Bin's lawyer tried to bargain with me. They admitted the fact that the vehicle was damaged, but raised objections to the compensation amount. They thought my claim amount was too high, especially the part about used car value depreciation, which they claimed was pure speculation and had no legal basis. My lawyer calmly pulled out a new piece of evidence. It was a professional assessment report from the most authoritative domestic used car evaluation agency. The report gave a detailed analysis of my limited edition Ninja H2 after it was stolen and stored in harsh environments for a long time, how its collection value and market circulation value had suffered permanent damage. The report concluded that the estimated value depreciation was between 80,000 and 120,000 yen. We took the middle value of 100,000 yen. This report was like a heavy punch that completely shattered all the opposing lawyers' wishful thinking. In the end, the court almost fully supported all my litigation claims, ruling that Wang Zhenjun and his family compensate me a total of 386,000 yen for various economic losses, plus the previous 50,000 yen criminal fine. The Wang family had to pay over 430,000 yen in total. This amount for an ordinary, working-class family is definitely an astronomical figure. For Wang Bin, this was also a heavy blow that hurt him really badly. I heard the day after the verdict came out, he started selling off his family's possessions like crazy. Their old house that they had lived in for over 20 years was listed for sale. Li Chuihua's jewelry, his own BMW car, even some valuable office equipment from his company was all listed by him on second-hand websites. Even so, scraping together this money drained him completely. Dingsheng Group was already in trouble after losing our company's orders. Now their boss was tangled up in lawsuits. Funds were frozen and withdrawn. The company's operations soon got really difficult. When it rains, it pours. Competitors he had bullied before, suppliers he had owed payment to, all came to demand payment one after another. In less than 2 months, Dingsheng Group announced bankruptcy and liquidation. Wang Bin went from an admired Mr. Wang to a deadbeat everyone wanted to avoid. During this period, he contacted me once through his lawyer, hoping I could give him more time to pay the compensation in installments. I agreed, but I put forward one condition. I asked him to write a public apology letter, explaining how his father was greedy and ignorant, how he himself was arrogant and domineering, tried to threaten me, and interfered with judicial justice the whole time. Write everything out exactly as it happened, then post it on the community bulletin board for a month. Wang Bin was silent for a long time. In the end, he still agreed, because he had no other choice. A few days later, next to the red arrest notice on the bulletin board, there was an extra apology letter in black and white. The wording of the letter was full of regret and humility. There was no trace of his former arrogance anywhere in it. Every day, the residents of the community would stop to take a look when they passed by, and let out a sigh. This was a more powerful warning than any lecture. It tells everyone, don't easily cross other people's bottom lines, and never try to challenge the dignity of the law, because you never know what's backing the ordinary-looking neighbor standing right in front of you. I also picked up my motorcycle from the police station. I sent it to the best repair center for the most comprehensive maintenance and repair. I used part of the compensation money for this. I saved the rest of the money. Life seemed to be back to its original track. I'm still the ordinary project manager who crams into the subway to work every day. But when I got on that Kawasaki Ninja H2 again, twisted the throttle, and heard that familiar engine roar, my state of mind was completely different. It's no longer my weapon to fight against mediocrity, but a medal for me sticking to principles and defending justice. That night, I was riding on the city expressway for a joyride. My phone rang through the Bluetooth headset in my helmet. It was Mr. Chen. "Joe Hung, where are you?" "Mr. Chen is out riding his motorcycle. I've got good news for you." Mr. Chen sounds really happy. Remember Wang Bin's project that fell through earlier, but the client of that project is very interested in our company. After they heard we prioritize protecting our employees over the cooperation deal, they really admire our corporate culture. They officially signed the contract with us today. The contract value is 3 times the size of Wang Bin's original deal. Also, the CEO of their company is a huge motorcycle enthusiast. He specifically asked to meet you. He said he wants to chat with you about Olin's suspension tuning tips. The invitation over the phone caught me off guard, but I quickly realized what was going on. This might be a huge opportunity in my life. Got it, Mr. Chen. I'm free whenever you need me. Mr. Chen laughed. Okay, I'll send the address to your WeChat later. Dress sharp, okay? Don't embarrass our company. I hung up the phone. A warm feeling rose in my chest. Even though Mr. Chen was half joking, I could tell from his words that he saw me as one of his own people. He didn't treat me like a regular subordinate. He treated me like a friend worth mentoring and introducing to others. That kind of trust is priceless. 7 p.m. on Friday. I followed the address Mr. Chen sent me to a top-tier private club in the city center. There was no sign outside, just a heavy, solid ebony wooden door. The attendant at the door was very polite. After confirming my identity, he led me inside. The club's interior decor was low-key but luxurious. Every detail showed exceptional taste. Mr. Chen was waiting for me in a private room called Guanlin. When I pushed the door open, he was chatting happily with a man who looked around 50 years old. That man was wearing a nice, traditional Chinese knot-button shirt. He had a refined, scholarly vibe and very deep, insightful eyes. Every move he made carried the calm, imposing aura of someone who's been in a position of power for a long time. This must be the CEO of the client's company, I thought. Mr. Chen. I walked up and greeted him. Ah, Xiaozhou's here. Mr. Chen stood up and introduced me warmly. This is Li Weihan, chairman of Hongyuan Technology. Mr. Li. This is the person I told you about. Zhou Heng, our company's project manager. Hello, Mr. Li. I reached out my hand. Calm and confident, not overly humble nor arrogant. Zhou Heng, right? Have a seat. Li Weihan smiled and shook my hand. His palm was broad and firm. There was a hint of appreciation and curiosity in his eyes. Mr. Chen told me all about what you did. You handled it really well, kid. You've got guts and brains. You're gonna go far. That praise was totally genuine. Not a single bit of empty politeness. You're too kind, Mr. Li, I said humbly. I just did what I thought was right. Haha, what a great answer. Doing the right thing. Li Weihan laughed loudly. Sticking to doing the right thing these days is already an amazing quality on its own. Come on, don't stand there. Sit down and chat. The atmosphere of the dinner was way more relaxed than I expected. We didn't talk too much about work. It seemed like Li Weihan and Mr. Chen both silently agreed to steer the conversation to our shared hobby, motorcycles. Zhou Heng, I heard your ride as a ninja too. Li Weihan asked me, Yep, the carbon fiber version. Oh? Li Weihan's eyes lit up. That's a real gem, man. It's a supercharged beast. How's it running? How's that Oatland suspension? Tuning coming along? He got straight to the point with that question. This guy is definitely a pro. I'm still figuring it out. I told him honestly, the factory setup is geared more towards street riding. The support in high-speed corners is still a bit lacking. I'm trying to increase the preload right now, while slowing the rebound damping by 2 clicks, hoping to improve the rear end's tracking. My answer made the appreciation in Li Weihan's eyes grow even stronger. Exactly. That's the thing about the Olin's FGRT series. You really have to take the time to tune it. Unlike the electronic suspensions from some brands, they look smart on the surface, but they actually take away half the fun of riding. Real enthusiasts love this kind of feeling of deep connection with the machine. Mr. Chen sat beside us, watching us with a smile. He knows a lot about bikes, too, but he's obviously not as obsessed as Li Weihan and I are. For the rest of the time, it was basically just a private chat between Li Weihan and I, from the linear braking performance of Brembo-style calipers, to how different materials of Akrapovich exhausts affect the sound, to the stages and risks of ECU tuning. We hit it off better and better as we chatted, and felt we'd met far too late. Li Weihan even took out his phone to show me his collection stored in his garage. Ducats Panigale Vaporware, BMW HP4 Race, Envia Gusta F Quartzi Claudio. Every single one is an artwork in the motorcycle industry, and the ultimate dream of countless riders. I got a small place. It's sort of a private garage, and also a club for fellow enthusiasts. Li Weihan put down his phone, looked at me and extended a formal invitation. Everyone there is just like you and me, friends who truly love and know motorcycles. We usually hang out and chat together, tweak our bikes and hit the track once in a while. Want to come over and have fun? I knew this was more than just an invitation. It was a ticket to a whole new world, an elite circle made up of top motorcycle players. I had no reason to say no. Of course, I looked at Li Weihan's sincere eyes and nodded heavily. It's my pleasure. Saturday afternoon. I followed the location Li Wei-han sent me and drove to the other end of the city. It was a quiet industrial park area. The navigation destination was a plain-looking gray warehouse. The warehouse had no signs at all, only a heavy rolling shutter door. I parked my car and walked to the door a little confused. There was a small recognition device on the door. I held the e-invite on my phone up to the device to scan it. Identity confirmed. Mr. Zhou Heng. Welcome. An electronic voice rang out. The rolling shutter door in front of me slowly rose up. The sight behind the door made me hold my breath instantly. This was no warehouse at all. It was literally a holy temple for motorcycles. The huge high-ceiling space was divided into several areas. On the left was a professional repair and maintenance zone, several lifting platforms, a whole wall of top-tier tools, and all kinds of precision testing equipment available. Several staff in professional mechanic uniforms were carefully maintaining an Aprilia RSV4. On the right was a spacious and bright exhibition area. Over a dozen world-class motorcycles were displayed under spotlights like works of art. Every single one was wiped spotless, giving off a charming metallic luster. Right in front of me was a 2-story lounge area. Downstairs was the bar and sofa area. Upstairs looked like a pool room and simulator experience zone. There were around 7 or 8 people right then, hanging out in small groups in the lounge chatting. When Li Wei-han saw me, he stood up from the sofa with a smile and walked towards me. So what do you think of my secret base? Not bad, right? Mr. Lee, this is way more than just not bad, I said with sincere admiration. This is every rider's dream. Haha, we're all fellow enthusiasts here. Don't call me Mr. Lee. Just call me Old Lee or Brother Lee, either is fine. Li Wei-han patted me on the shoulder. Looking very friendly, he led me to the lounge area and introduced the other members to me. This is Zhou Heng. He's a skilled H2 rider, real tech guy. Let me introduce everyone to you. This is Lawyer Zhao, one of the top commercial litigation lawyers. All across Shanghai, a gentleman wearing wire-rimmed glasses nodded at me. This is Dr. Sun, the top cardiac surgeon at Rujin Hospital. A young-looking man in a casual hoodie smiled and held out his hand to me. This is Mr. Lin. He founded a gaming company that just went public. A man with shoulder-length hair, who had an artistic vibe, raised his glass to me. Li Wei-han introduced everyone one by one. Every person present was an elite in their own industry. Their only common point was a deep, bone-deep love for motorcycles. This was a truly top-tier circle in every sense. I smiled and shook hands with everyone, feeling a little emotional in my heart. If it wasn't for Wang Jianjun's stupidity, I would probably never have the chance to access a level like this. Life's fortunes are just that magical sometimes. Just then, a slightly jarring voice rang out. Carbon fiber version of the H2, right? The speaker was a young man around 27 or 28 years old. He was sitting a bit further away from us. Li Wei-han hadn't introduced him just now. He looked me up and down, with a hint of scrutiny and doubt in his eyes. I've heard of you. You're the guy whose neighbor sold your car and got him locked up for 11 years? Total badass. His words immediately made the atmosphere a little awkward. Li Wei-han frowned almost imperceptibly. Xiao Ma, watch your mouth. The young man called Xiao Ma didn't seem to care at all. His name is Ma Jun. His family runs a real estate business. He's pretty much a rich second generation. He's been into bikes for quite a long time. He rides a modified BMW S1000R. Brother Lee, I don't mean any offense. Ma Jun shrugged his shoulders. I'm just curious. I heard you're just a regular office worker. You spent 2 years' salary on this bike. What's the point of that? Biking is such a money-burning hobby. Passion alone isn't enough, you know? There was a condescending superiority in his tone. What he implied was that my financial strength is totally incompatible with this circle. No one else said a word, but there was a hint of curiosity in their eyes. I wasn't angry at all. I looked at Ma Jun and spoke calmly. That's right, I'm just an average office worker. Buying this bike drained almost all of my savings, but every single penny I spent is earned honestly through my own hard work. I love it so much. Just like Dr. Sun loves his scalpel, and Lawyer Zhao loves his law books. When it comes to passion, it has nothing to do with how much money you have. My words were powerful and firm. Both Dr. Sun and Lawyer Zhao nodded their heads unconsciously. Ma Jun's face started to look embarrassed. Nice speech, but that's all just talk. He snorted coldly. Actions speak louder than words, actually. I Recently noticed my S1000R feels off when taking corners, the front end drifts a little. Aren't you the so-called tech expert? Come take a look for me. If you can figure out what's wrong, I'll admit you're the real deal. This was an outright provocation. Li Weihan was about to speak to defuse the situation, but I stopped him with a smile. Sure. I stood up and walked towards the service area. Show me your bike. Ma Jun didn't expect me to agree so readily. He was stunned for a second. Then he followed me. Everyone else followed too. They all wanted to see how good I really was. Ma Jun's S1000R was parked on a lift. It was heavily modified for performance. Full set of carbon fiber body panels, racing foot pegs, and a set of expensive AK forged wheels. I didn't touch the bike. I just walked around it and looked it over carefully. Then I squatted down and stared at its front wheel and front suspension for a full 2 minutes. Is your front suspension preload set too stiff? Ma Jun was taken aback for a second. Yeah, I like stiffer support, so I feel more confident when riding mountain roads. Then when you changed the wheels, did you get a precise dynamic balancing done? Dynamic balancing? The mechanic at the wheel shop. Did it for me, it should be fine, right? Ma Jun's tone sounded a little uncertain. I smiled and stood up. That's exactly the problem. AK forged wheels are nearly 50% lighter than the original factory wheels. That drastically reduces the unsprung mass, which means your suspension system needs to be recalibrated. You kept the previous high preload setting, which reduces the front wheel's grip on the road. Small bumps in corners get amplified a lot. That's why your front end feels wobbly. Also, for this level of modification, regular dynamic balancing isn't enough. You need a more precise laser dynamic balancing machine. The error has to be kept under 1 gram. I bet you have at least 15 grams of wheel weights on your front wheel. The whole place went silent after I finished speaking. Everyone was looking at me with an expression of total disbelief, including Li Weihan. These theories were way too professional, way beyond what regular hobbyists would know. Ma Jun swallowed hard. He walked to the front wheel half-doubtingly. When he saw the row of neatly stuck wheel weights on the side of the tire that added up to a full 20 grams, his face instantly turned bright red with embarrassment. Ma Jun opened his mouth, trying to say something, but no words came out. Facts speak louder than words. I wasn't trying to be mysterious earlier. I actually pinpointed the root of the problem. Everyone present was an experienced biker. They all knew that unsprung mass, suspension preload, dynamic balancing have a critical impact on a bike's handling. But very few people can analyze the problem as thoroughly as I did. Just by looking at the bike, he was quiet for a long while before saying, I'm convinced. Ma Jun gritted out 2 words between his teeth. He walked right up to me, though his face still looked a little awkward. The contempt and doubt in his eyes had completely vanished. Instead, they were replaced by the special respect unique to technical guys in the same field. Buddy, I was too blind to recognize a real talent. I admit I messed up today. I'll treat everyone tonight to apologize to all of you. His attitude was actually more straightforward than I expected. I smiled and patted him on the shoulder. It's fine, we're all bike lovers here. This is just a technical exchange, that's all. I didn't hold it against him, because I knew, for someone like Ma Jun, beating him fair and square at the thing he's most proud of is way more effective than any insult or mockery at making him genuinely admit defeat. This small incident just fizzled out without any fuss, but its impact was actually far-reaching. From that moment on, no one in this circle would ever look down on me because of my background or job. I used my professional knowledge to earn the respect of everyone there. Li Weihan walked over to my side. His eyes were full of approval. Jo Hung, you kid really hid your skills so well. Even I didn't notice that your understanding of motorcycles is already at this level. I just like digging into this stuff, that's all. No, it's way more than just digging into it. Li Weihan shook his head. This is talent. He looked at me, and his expression suddenly turned serious. Have you ever thought of turning your passion into a full-time career? I was stunned for a second. Brother Li, what do you mean by that? My racing team is missing a technical director. Li Weihan's words came as a total shock. I own a semi-professional racing team called Hongyuan Power. We usually mainly take part in domestic track days and championships. The previous tech lead was an Italian engineer. He went back to his country a while ago for family reasons. I've been looking for a suitable replacement this whole time. They need to not only know technology well, but also have enough passion and understanding for motorcycles. After seeing your performance today, I think you're the perfect candidate for the job. This invitation hit me like a bombshell. It went off right in my head. Technical director of a racing team. This is almost the ultimate career that every motorcycle enthusiast dreams of. Getting to combine what you love with your career perfectly is basically a dream come true. But I'm just a project manager. I don't have any relevant work experience at all. I hesitated a little. Experience can be accumulated slowly, but your understanding of mechanics and natural talent is something no one else can learn. I'll pay you 3 times your current annual salary, plus bonuses based on the team's performance. You only need to be in charge of vehicle modification, tuning, and track data analysis. What do you say? Dare to take on this challenge? Li Wei-han looked at me with bright, eager eyes. I could tell he wasn't joking around. My heart started beating wildly in my chest. On one side was a stable, decent, predictable white-collar life. On the other side was a brand new path full of passion and challenges, where I could live and breathe my dream every day. I barely hesitated for long at all. How many chances do you get in your lifetime to chase after something you really love? I've already missed so many chances. I don't want to miss this one. I looked at Li Wei-han and nodded my head hard. When I left the club, it was already evening. The setting sun stretched my shadow very long on the ground. I felt like I was floating on air the whole time, like I was walking on clouds. It felt like life was opening up in a way I had never imagined before. All of a sudden, I drove back to my apartment complex. I had just parked my car when I saw a familiar yet unfamiliar figure waiting at the entrance of my apartment building. It was Wang Bin. He looked a lot more haggard. He was wearing a very wrinkled dress shirt. His hair was a total mess, and his eyes were bloodshot all over. He didn't have even a trace of his old arrogant attitude left. When he saw me, it was like he saw his savior. He ran a few steps over to me. "Brother Joe, Mr. Zhou?" He was almost crying as he spoke. "Please, have mercy on me. Let my family off the hook, okay? We really can't pay back that compensation money. We sold our house. We sold our car too. And my dad's company went bankrupt. Now we still owe the bank a ton of money. My mom fell sick and is bedridden. And my dad's in jail. We don't even know if he's alive or dead." He was crying and sniffling as he poured out his grievances. He was almost kneeling down in front of me. I stared at him silently. I didn't feel an ounce of sympathy for him. Nope, not at all. I only found him pathetic. Everything you're suffering right now isn't something I gave you. I looked him dead in the eye and said every word deliberately. Was chosen by you and your father with your own hands. The second you chose to trample on other people's property and dignity, you should have known this day would come. The installment repayment agreement was vetted by lawyers and has full legal effect. If you can't pay back the money, the court will enforce the ruling. I've said all I need to. You'd better act wisely. After that, I ignored him completely and walked straight into the apartment building entrance. Behind me came Wang Bin's desperate roars and curses, but I didn't care anymore. He and I were already from totally different worlds long ago. My world is stars and oceans, racetracks, and the far horizon. His world has nothing left but himself, and the abyss of consequences he dug with his own hands. The day I handed my resignation to President Chen, he wasn't surprised at all. He just smiled and made me a cup of his prized Dahong Pao tea. I knew it all along. A dragon like you will head for the ocean sooner or later. This small pond of mine can't hold you after all. We chatted for a long time about cars, about the future, about our ideals. When I was leaving, he patted my shoulder. The future cooperation projects with Hongyuan Technology will be handled by you as the liaison with our company. Consider this a welcome gift. For you, the new technical director. Don't forget, this place will always be your home base. I was really moved and nodded heavily. A good leader isn't just your superior, but also a valuable mentor in your life. I left my old 9-to-5 life behind and officially stepped into a world filled with the smell of motor oil and gasoline. The base of Hongyuan Power Racing Team is way larger than Li Wei-han's private club, and way more professional too. There's no fancy decoration here, only cold metal and precise instruments. Inside the huge dust-free workshop, there are 3 heavily modified Yamaha R1M racing bikes parked. Each of them costs as much as my Ninja H2. One side of the workshop is the work area. For the engine team and suspension team, the other side has the tire warehouse stacked with high-performance tires, and the storage room for spare parts. The second floor is the data analysis center, where more than a dozen high-performance computers are connected to a huge display screen. All kinds of complex telemetry data curves are flashing on it. This is where I'll fight in the future. The team manager is Zhang Tao, a man in his early 40s, with dark tanned skin and a lean, capable build. He doesn't talk much. His gaze is as sharp as an eagle's. He shook my hand and only said one sentence. "Welcome aboard, Director Joe. Everyone on the team has a bit of a weird temper. Hope you can put up with them." I could feel there was a hint of cautious wait-and-see in his attitude. There aren't many core members on the team, other than manager Zhang Tao. There's Chief Mechanic Master Liu. Everyone calls him Lao Liu. He's a veteran mechanic in his 50s, with calluses all over his hands. People say he's been working on bikes for 30 years in China and has extremely rich experience. When he saw me, he just grunted from his nose, not even lifting his head. In his opinion, a director like me who got the job with smooth talk and PPTs is probably no different from a useless loser. The rest are 3 young mechanics and 2 data analysts. They looked at me with eyes full of curiosity, but that was all. Finally, Zhang Tao took me to meet the team's ace, lead racer Gao Fei, a young man in his early 20s. Very handsome, but with a rebellious arrogance between his brows. He just got off the simulator, still wearing his racing suit. "So you're the new director President Lee hired." He looked me up and down, with a faint smirk on the corner of his mouth. "I heard you used to work as a project manager at an internet company. Hope your skills are half as good as your ninja too." His words were clearly a provocation. I didn't get angry. I know for these people who communicate with life and speed on the track, all resumes and titles are just empty fluff. If you want to earn their respect, there's only one way. Show them your real strength. I ignored Gaofei's provocation. I just walked over to the race car that belongs to him, the one codenamed Car Number 1. "Manager Zhang, can you pull all of Car Number 1's telemetry data from the last race for me? I also need photos of the used tires, too." Zhang Tao froze for a second. Then he nodded. "Sure." I sat in the data analysis center for a full 5 hours. I split every lap Gaofei drove on the Zhuhai track into hundreds of segments to analyze the data. Throttle position, brake pressure, engine speed, suspension compression, and rebound stroke. I didn't miss a single detail. 5 p.m., I held a printed report in my hand and called everyone over. That included the still dismissive Gaofei and the clearly annoyed old Liu. I projected a photo of a tire onto the big screen. This is from after the last race. A photo of the right rear tire. You can see that along the edge of the tire. There's obvious tearing. It's commonly called cold tearing. Old Liu frowned. That's totally normal. The Zhuhai track has lots of right turns, so wear on the right side is naturally worse. Plus, it was cold that day. The tires couldn't reach their operating temperature. His explanation was straight out of the textbook. There was nothing wrong with it. "That's right." I nodded. But here's the thing. Why did cold tearing only appear on the right edge? If it was a temperature issue, the entire right tire tread would have similar signs of damage. I switched to another image. It was a data graph. This is from turns T7 to T8. That's when exiting the hairpin turn. This is the rear suspension dynamic data. The red line is compression. The green line is rebound. As you can see, when we hit full throttle exiting the turn, the rear suspension compresses really fast. But then the rebound speed is way too fast. That makes the rear of the car bounce extra all of a sudden. So the tire pressure on the ground is inconsistent. In that fraction of a second, the tire is basically slipping, while scraping against the ground at the same time. That's why these unique marks are left on the tire edge. When I finished speaking, the whole meeting room went dead silent. The annoyance on old Liu's face turned to shock. The contempt in Gaofei's eyes also froze, because what I said was exactly the same as what he felt out on the track back then. He always thought that when exiting that turn, the rear of the car felt unresponsive, but he couldn't explain why. He thought he was just pressing the throttle too hard. He never thought the problem was with the suspension rebound damping. I recommend slowing the rear suspension rebound damping by 2 clicks. This will sacrifice a little bit of the car's agility, but it will give you more stable corner exit tracking. Conservative estimate. Lap times will be at least 0.3 seconds faster. I looked at the stunned crowd and summed it up calmly. I knew from that moment on, I had truly solidified my position in this team. 3 days later at the Zhuhai International Circuit, The Hongyuan power team rented out an entire track. For a full day of private testing, this was my first time, leading a real practical drill after taking the job, and the only way to test my theory, in the track pit area. The atmosphere was a little tense. Old Lou was with 2 technicians, tuning car number 1 for the final time, based on the data I provided. His expression was very focused. None of the previous disdain. Instead, there was a hint of curiosity. Gao Hei was sitting on a rest chair, drinking a sports drink, glancing over at me from time to time. His expression was complicated. There was expectation, doubt, and a faint trace of excitement that was hard to notice. As a driver, nothing gets him more excited than the possibility of going faster. Director Zhou, Jiang Tao walked up to me and handed me a bottle of water. How sure are you? I twisted open the bottle cap and took a sip. Data doesn't lie. I'm 100% sure. My confidence made Jiang Tao's eyes flicker for a second. He didn't say anything else. He just nodded firmly. 10 a.m. The track temperature reached the ideal operating condition. Gao Fei was fully suited up and got into car number 1. The roar of the engine echoed through the entire pit area. I said to him over the radio, head out and do 3 laps first. Warm up the tires and get a feel for the track. Copy that. Gao Fei's voice came through the headset, calm and professional. Yamaha Rem is like a blue arrow shot from a bow, dashed out of the pit lane, and pulled onto the racetrack. On the screen of the data center, real-time telemetry data started scrolling. I stared firmly at the line that represents rear suspension dynamics. First lap, 1 minute 37.2s, second lap, 1:36.5. Third lap, 1:36.1. He got into the groove really fast. How's it feeling? Not bad. Gao Fei's voice came through again. The bike feels more stable than before, especially in high-speed corners. But in low-speed corners, the front end feels a bit sluggish. Steering response isn't as sharp as before. His feedback matched my prediction perfectly. Slowing rebound damping will definitely sacrifice some flexibility. Take it easy, keep going. Try using more aggressive braking and later, corner entry points to make up for the lack of flexibility. Trust me and trust you in the bike. The next lap, Gao Fei started pushing harder. The lap time on the screen, prediction turned green for the first time. Green means he is currently beating his personal best lap time. Everyone held their breath. The moment he crossed the finish line, the number on the timer froze at 1 minute 35.7 seconds. That's faster than his previous personal best, lap time by a full 0.4 seconds. A small cheer broke out in the pit area. Lao Liu clenched his fist subconsciously too, but Gao Fei didn't seem satisfied. Still not good enough. I feel like I'm already at the limit. That high-speed corner at T9, I still don't dare go full throttle through it. The rear end always feels like it's about to lose control. He's talking about the Zhuhai circuit corner that tests driver courage and vehicle tuning the most. It's a high-speed right-hand corner with speeds over 200 km/h. I looked at the data on the screen and fell deep in thought. The suspension setup should be fine already. So where is the problem? I shifted my gaze from suspension data to frame geometry data. Rake angle, trail, wheelbase. A bold idea formed in my head. I gave an order right away. Gao Fei returned to the pit area. The bike returned to the pit room. Kaoki took off his helmet, looking totally confused. What's wrong? I didn't answer him, but spoke directly to Lao Liu. Master Liu, loosen the triple clamp of the front fork. Lower the front fork by 5 millimeters. Everyone present was stunned by my words. Lao Liu's eyes widened even more in shock. Director Zhou, are you kidding me? Lowering the front fork means reducing the rake angle and shortening the trail. The bike will become more agile, but it'll only get more unstable in high-speed corners. This is reverse tuning. His doubt echoed what everyone was thinking. This goes completely against common racing tuning sense. Kaohei also got anxious. Yeah, director. If you do this, I'll be even more scared to go through T9. I looked at them and shook my head. No, you only considered rake angle and trail, but ignored another important factor, center of gravity. To pursue extreme lightweighting, we modified our REM with lots of carbon fiber components. Its center of gravity is naturally higher than the stock bike. And Gao Fei, your driving style tends to involve lots of body hang-off. This causes the combined center of gravity of you and the bike in high-speed corners to exceed a critical threshold. So no matter how we adjust the suspension, you'll feel it's unstable. What I'm doing now is lowering the front end height To bring down the overall center of gravity of the bike, we'll use the stable center of gravity to offset the instability caused by geometry angle changes. This is risky, but it's worth a shot. My theory sounded like a total fairy tale to them. Laolio and Gaofei were both dumbfounded. The pit area fell dead silent again. Everyone was looking at me, like I was a madman. Finally, Zhang Tao broke the silence. He glanced at Gaofei, then glanced at me. Listen to Director Zhou. His words were final. Though full of doubts, Laolio still picked up his tools. Half an hour later, the adjustment was completed. Gaofei felt extremely nervous as he drove onto the track again. This time, everyone went behind the guardrail next to the track, stared tensely at the distant turn 9. We heard the engine roar getting closer and closer. Without slowing down even a little bit, that blue rem was just like a flash of lightning speeding low above the ground. With unbelievable stability, it carved through the apex of turn 9 at full throttle. He actually made it through at full throttle. The next second, I heard Gaofei's voice in my headset, his roar distorted by extreme excitement. I did it? Oh my god, that was so smooth. This bike feels like it's glued to the track. In the pit lane, thunderous cheers and applause erupted. We also got word from the data center. The latest lap time is 1:34.9. We broke into the 34-second range. Old Liu threw away the stopwatch in his hand and gave me an excited bear hug. Director Zhou, you're an absolute genius. The huge success of the Zhuhai test helped me completely build an unrivaled reputation in the team. No one questioned any of my decisions anymore. Old Liu became my most loyal implementer. He never disobeyed any of my orders. Gaofei admired me from the bottom of his heart. He kept calling me Brother Zhou. More warmly than anyone else, the team's atmosphere was more harmonious and energetic than ever. Everyone was full of confidence for the upcoming National Superbike Championship. After we returned to the team base, I immediately organized a team-wide meeting. At the meeting, I officially proposed my data-driven team management philosophy. I applied the experience I got as a project manager at an internet company to all aspects of the team's daily management. We treat every training session and competition as a separate independent project. Before each race, we will carry out detailed data simulation and strategy planning based on track features. During the race, I will be stationed at the base, analyzing real-time data and sending precise instructions to the riders. After the race, we will conduct a full review and compile all the data and experience into our shared knowledge base. I even built a set of processes for the team, similar to a bug management system. Any problem the riders encounter on the track, even if it's just a tiny vibration, has to be reported as a bug. Then the technician team will locate the problem. I will analyze the relevant data until we find the final solution. This brand new working mode was a fresh new experience for everyone on the team. Although the process was more complicated than before, our efficiency and accuracy have improved exponentially. The entire Hongyuan power racing team was like a precision machine that had been reprogrammed and started operating at high speed in an orderly manner. Li Weihan came to the base for an inspection once. When he saw the completely new look of the team and the spark in everyone's eyes, he could not stop praising me. Zhou Heng, I really picked the right person. What you brought to the team isn't just technology, but a whole new soul. This year's championship, I'm definitely going to take it. His ambition also ignited my fighting spirit championship. For every person involved in motor racing, it is the highest possible honor. But just when we were busy preparing for the upcoming race, some bad news spread from the racing circle. Our old rival Tianlu Racing Team also held a secret test in Zhuhai, and their ace rider Ling Feng got an astonishingly fast lap time, 1:34.5. This time is faster than the fastest lap Gaofei, set during our test by 0.4 seconds. A 0.4 second gap in the racing world is already a huge difference. When this news came out, the optimistic mood that just rose in the team was instantly doused with a bucket of cold water. Gaofei's face also became extremely serious. Ling Feng has been his rival ever since his karting days, that he's been competing closely with. Their skills were pretty much on the same level. Neither would admit the other was better. But now the other side has got a lap time he can't even come close to, which hit him really hard. No way, how can he be that fast? Gaofei stared at the news on his phone, mumbling to himself. Their bike is the same REM model as ours, and their modification specs are almost the same too. Even if their technicians are really good, there's no way they can get a 0.4 second advantage out of nowhere. Old Liu also frowned. The technical director of Tianlu Racing Team is Japanese, named Watanabe Yuichi. He's very famous in the racing circle, and extremely experienced, but his style is pretty conservative. Getting a lap time this fast doesn't seem like something he would do. I turned on my computer and pulled up all of Tianlu Racing Team's race footage and public data from last season. I watched Ling Feng's race footage frame by frame, over and over again, analyzing his racing line and driving style. The whole afternoon, I locked myself up in the data center until the evening came. I finally found the root of the problem. I gathered all the staff again and played 2 clips on the big screen. The left one shows Gao Fei going full throttle through turn T9. The right one shows Ling Feng taking the exact same turn. What difference do you guys see? I asked as everyone stared intently at the screen. The racing lines look a bit different. Gao Fei was the first to spot the clue. Ling Feng's turn-in point is later and more outward than mine. Exactly. I nodded, but that's not the key point. The key is the corner exit. I froze the footage right at the moment. Both cars were exiting the corner. Look at their body postures. When Gao Fei's car exits the corner, its body stays relatively upright, but Ling Feng's car still maintains a really large lean angle. He uses a large lean angle cornering method, almost like MotoGP riders for this high-speed bend. This driving method allows him to pass the apex at a much higher speed. So he gets a huge advantage at corner exit. My analysis made everything click for everyone, but Gao Fei's face turned even grimmer. I've tried this driving method before too, but I just can't pull it off at all. Once the speed gets too high and the lean angle gets too big, the rear end starts to slide out. I can't control it no matter what. This isn't a car tuning issue anymore. This is the physical limit. Yeah, it's the physical limit under normal circumstances. I smiled slightly at Gao Fei, but what if this car has some sort of unknown secret tech we don't know about? I switched to another picture. It was a high-definition photo, clipped from a news report. In the photo, Ling Feng's race car was parked in the pit area. On the side of the car body, there was an inconspicuous, tiny silver box that I circled with a red marker. What is this? Old Liu leaned in to take a closer look. I looked into this for a really long time. This device is made by an Italian company called Microtech. It is their newly developed 6th-gen traction control system. It has a built-in 6-axis gyroscope and GPS module. It can use the car's real-time lean angle, acceleration, and track position to intelligently adjust the engine's power output. Put simply, it lets drivers push right up to the edge of losing control without crashing. That's the secret behind Ling Feng's 0.4-second advantage. As soon as I finished speaking, the whole room erupted in commotion. Gao Fei's eyes lit up immediately. Brother Zhou, then I raised my hand to cut him off. I already contacted this company, but they signed an exclusive supply deal with Tianlu Racing Team for this season's China division. This system is only supplied to them. This news hit everyone like a heavy hammer and dragged everyone back down to rock bottom. Exclusive supply. That means we're already at an absolute disadvantage in terms of technology. How are we even supposed to compete? Everyone's face was filled with despair. I looked at the demoralized crowd and suddenly smiled. Who says we can't build one ourselves? Just because we don't have their product? I turned around and wrote a line on the whiteboard behind me. Hongyuan Power TCU Independent R&D Project officially launched. My words of "we'll build it ourselves" was like a bomb thrown into the quiet meeting room. Everyone looked at me like I was totally crazy. Old Liu was the first to react. He almost jumped out of his seat. Director Zhou, are you kidding me? This isn't something you can fix with wrenches and screwdrivers. It's ECU, electronics, programs, algorithms, any random chip inside it, or line of code is more complex than the entire technical reserve of our team. What are we going to build it with? Are we supposed to rely on sheer willpower? His outburst was exactly what everyone was thinking. Yeah, what do we have to build it with? We're a bunch of mechanics, not semiconductor experts. This seemed like a completely impossible mission. Gao Fei also looked at me with a worried face. Brother Zhou, isn't this a bit too impulsive? I know you don't want to lose, but we can't fight a battle. We have no hope of winning. I raised my hand to signal everyone to quiet down. I know this is hard. It even sounds totally crazy. But hard doesn't mean we have to admit defeat. Crazy doesn't mean it can't be realized. I walked up to the whiteboard and picked up the pen. A top-tier TCU is only made of 3 parts. First, hardware. I drew a square on the board. high-performance microcontrollers, 6-axis gyroscopes, GPS modules, and wheel speed sensors. None of this is alien tech. We can't manufacture them on our own, sure, but we can access the global market to buy the top-of-the-line models. This part is just a matter of money and supply chains. Mr. Lee will support us on that second. Software. I draw a second box. We need to take the data collected by the hardware and send it to the core algorithm in real time via software. This requires top-tier embedded systems engineers. Talent like this is hard to come by, but not impossible to find. Third, and the most core part, the algorithm. I draw the third and also the largest box. How do we turn tilt angle, acceleration, wheel speed difference, and other cold hard data into the most precise control commands for engine power? This requires the very best experts proficient in vehicle dynamics and control theory. These three areas are the fortresses we need to conquer. I looked at everyone present and said word for word, Wichi Watanabe can get micronic, but we can't. It's not fair. But the world was never fair to begin with. Instead of complaining about the rules, why don't we become the rule makers ourselves? My words were like a flame that lit up the almost dead hope in the conference room. The despair on everyone's faces was gradually replaced by a complicated mix of emotions. There was doubt, there was anxiety, but more than that, there was a kind of madness from being pushed to the brink and burning all bridges. Li Weihan made a call right on the spot. I'll give you 20 million as initial budget. Hire whoever you need. I'll give you unlimited financial support. I only have one requirement. Before the season starts, I want to see our Kylan Heart installed on the race car. Kylan Heart is the name we gave this project, taken from the auspicious beast in Chinese mythology. It stands for speed, wisdom, and good fortune, facing the Western technological barriers. We want to install our very own Chinese heart. In the days that followed, I practically lived at the team base. I used all my past experience as a project manager to split the entire R&D project into hundreds of detailed task nodes. Each node clearly defines the person in charge, timeline, and delivery standards. The entire team operated at an unprecedented high intensity. Li Weihan used all his connections to scout talent for us across the globe. Soon, 2 young engineers who worked in Silicon Valley for years and know embedded development inside out were poached by us with generous offers. The hardware and software issues were sorted out, but we couldn't find the key algorithm expert for ages. We interviewed a lot of people, including university professors and researchers from scientific institutions, but they either had theory disconnected from practice or had zero interest in motor racing. Days passed by. The project got stuck at the most core part. Just when I was at my wit's end, my former boss, Mr. Chen, gave me a call. Joe Hung, I heard you're looking for a top algorithm expert lately. Yes, Mr. Chen. Do you have someone to recommend? I was overjoyed. I do have a candidate in mind, but I don't know if you can convince him to join. He's a genius who graduated from Jiaotong University's Gifted Youth Program, then went to MIT and got his PhD in robotics and automatic control. Now he works for a leading domestic, autonomous driving company as chief scientist. His name is Lin Yi, but he has a really weird personality. Other than technology, he cares about nothing else. It's super hard to get him on board. I wrote down this name. I knew he was the final piece of our puzzle. I spent 3 days studying all the papers Lin Yi published and all the projects he had led. I didn't contact him through Mr. Chen. Instead, I went straight to the ground floor of his company. I waited in the coffee shop downstairs for him the entire afternoon. In the evening, a young man wearing black-rimmed glasses, in a plaid shirt, looking a bit unkempt, walked out. I walked up to him. Dr. Lin. He glanced at me, his eyes full of wariness. Who are you? My name is Zhou Heng, technical director of Hongyuan Power Racing Team. He frowned and turned to leave. I'm not interested in racing, but you must be interested in multi-sensor fusion and predictive control algorithms in dynamic environments. My one line made him stop in his tracks. He turned around. For the first time, a glint of light flashed in his eyes behind the lenses. Oh, when a motorcycle is going 300 kilometers per hour and leans into a corner at a 60-degree tilt, something is happening right between its tires and the ground. It's the most complex and fascinating physical reaction on the planet. How do we use the attitude changes captured by the gyroscope, combined with the track curvature predicted by GPS, to forecast 0.01 seconds into the future and find the critical point of traction? This is way more impressive than what you're working on now, making a four-wheeled metal box. Navigate through crowded urban areas. Isn't it? My words were like a key that unlocked the door deep inside him to his obsessive desire for the ultimate pursuit of technology. Lin Yi looked at me and stayed silent for a long time. That's kinda interesting. He pushed his glasses up. Take me to visit your team tomorrow. Lin Yi joining the team was like a shot in the arm. For the entire Killing Heart project, on his first day at the base, he didn't greet anyone at all. He just locked himself in the data center directly. For a full 48 hours, 2 days later he walked out with bloodshot eyes, holding a stack of draft papers covered in complex formulas. The first thing he said to us was, "It works in theory, but we need to build a brand new mathematical model, a non-linear, time-varying control model that can perfectly couple the rider and the vehicle together." Very few of us understood what he said, but that didn't stop every single one of us from feeling more excited than ever. The project officially entered its critical tackling phase. Lin Yi and 2 software engineers were in charge of building the algorithms and software. Lao Liu and I, along with the technicians, were responsible for hardware integration and testing. It was a race against time. The process was way tougher than we imagined. The 6-axis gyroscopes we purchased from Germany and the microcontrollers we sourced from the US were not compatible with each other at the underlying protocol level. 2 young engineers pulled 3 all-nighters before they barely wrote a set of adapter programs. The high-frequency electromagnetic waves generated by the engine ignition coil severely interfered with the accuracy of the GPS signal. Lao Liu relied on his years of experience and used an aerospace-grade shielding material to wrap our TCU module layer after layer, and only then solve this problem. The biggest difficulty still came from the algorithm itself. The initial model Lin Yi built performed perfectly during bench testing, but once we installed it on a real bike, it didn't work the way it was supposed to at all. The first time Gao Fei rode the training bike fitted with the Killing Heart prototype onto the track, it almost bounced him right off the bike. This is no traction control system. It's basically a random ABS system. It always kicks in when I need it the least, and disappears right when I need it most. He slammed his helmet on the ground angrily. Lin Yi's face also looked really bad. He sat in front of the computer staring at screens full of error codes, without saying a word. This was the first time the genius hit a wall. The perfect lab model, when faced with a real track full of chaos and uncertainty, was so fragile that it fell apart instantly. For the first time, the team's atmosphere hit rock bottom. For over 2 weeks straight, everyone only got 3 or 4 hours of sleep a day. The huge pressure left everyone physically and mentally exhausted. Some people started complaining in private, thinking my initial decision was too reckless. Even Zhang Tao came to talk to me privately once. "Director Zhou, I know you're under a lot of pressure, but the season is about to start soon. Should we prepare a backup plan?" I knew the so-called backup plan he mentioned was abandoning the Killing Heart and going back to our old outdated system from last generation. That meant all our efforts during this period would all go to waste. It also meant we would surrender in advance before the season even started. Give me 3 more days. I looked at Zhang Tao with a determined look in my eyes. In 3 days, if we still can't come up with a usable version, I'll take the blame and resign. I made a solemn commitment. I kicked everyone out of the data center, leaving only Lin Yi and me inside. For the entire night, we didn't talk to each other. We just kept replaying the footage and data of every mistake Gao Fei made during his test runs. Where the hell is the problem? Lin Yi held his head in his hands, pulling his hair painfully. The model is not wrong. The code is not wrong either. The hardware signal collection is also working normally. Why? Why won't it work as expected? Watching him on the verge of breaking down, something suddenly crossed my mind. I opened a first-person riding video of myself. It was footage of me riding my Ninja H2 on a mountain road. "Lin Yi, look." I pointed at the screen. "Look at this move I make before entering a corner." The second I hit the brakes hard, I already leaned my body towards the apex in advance. The bike's still upright at this point, but my center of gravity has already shifted. But your model only works when the gyroscope detects that the bike is tilting. Before it starts calculating the tilt angle parameters, you miss the most important variable, and that's the rider. Your model is a purely mechanical one. You treat the rider as a fixed weight attached to the bike. But the truth is, a top-tier rider, his body, his center of gravity, is also the most critical part of the entire bike's control system. He uses his body to predict, to guide, and to counter the bike's movements. My words hit like a lightning bolt, cutting through the fog in Lin Yi's mind. His eyes lit up immediately. I get it. Predictive control. I need to add a predictive control module based on rider behavior. We'll use the pressure sensors under the seat and the angular displacement sensors on the handlebars to capture the rider's intentions. Before the bike even starts to tilt, the system will predict his next moves and adjust the power output strategy in advance. This is a human-machine collaborative control model. He jumped to his feet abruptly and rushed to the whiteboard, scribbling new formulas like crazy. I watched his feverish back and knew we'd found the key to success. 3 days later, when Gao Fei came back from the track, on the test bike, he didn't say a word. He just walked quietly up to Lin Yi, took off his helmet, and bowed deeply to him. Thank you, Dr. Lin. You built a thinking beast. There's 1 week left until the opening race of the National Superbike Championship. Our Kill and Heart TCU finally finished final version debugging. We put it inside a delicate carbon fiber case. It looked just like an original factory part. For secrecy, we stuck a regular data logger label on it. Except for our core team members, no one knew this tiny black box held enough power to turn the entire race upside down. The night before we left for Shanghai, Li Weihen came to the base in person to see us off. He didn't give any impassioned speech. He just raised his glass to each one of us and bowed deeply. Thank you all. No matter what the result is, you are all heroes of Hongyuan power. It was overcast at Shanghai International Circuit on Friday. The air was thick with the tension of an upcoming big fight. The entire pit area was buzzing with noise. All teams' bikes and equipment were ready to go. Tianlu team's pit was diagonally across from ours. They had a really strong vibe. Their mechanics and logistics team all carried themselves. Like a championship-winning team, their star rider Ling Feng was surrounded by a group of reporters for an interview, with a confident smile on his face. Their Japanese director Watanabe Yuichi stood at the pit entrance with his arms crossed, staring coldly in our direction, his eyes full of disdain and contempt. In comparison, we at Hongyuan Power kept a really low profile. We didn't take any interviews, just quietly did our own prep work. To everyone else, we were just here to make up the numbers, destined to be the backdrop for Tianlu team's championship win. The first free practice session in the morning started. I told Gao Fei to use the most conservative Mode 1. Kill and Heart's intervention is very minimal in this mode, almost no different from our previous generation system. I didn't want to show our hand this early. Gao Fei's lap time placed him 5th among all riders. Not great, not bad. Unsurprisingly, Ling Feng set the fastest lap time of the whole session, 1:59.3. This result shook the entire circuit. Cheers erupted. From Tianlu team's pit, Watanabe Yuichi had a smug smile on his face. He even deliberately glanced in our direction with a provocative look. Our pit was completely quiet. Old Lu's face was dark, his knuckles white as he clenched his fists. Only Lin Yi and I exchanged a look, our expressions calm. The real show's just getting started. The second free practice session in the afternoon, the track temperature, wind speed, and humidity all reached to a nearly perfect state. Gao Fei looked at me before climbing onto his bike. Brother Joe, are we still using Mode 1? I shook my head. I picked up the walkie-talkie and pressed the talk button. Attention everyone, the Keelan system will be switched to Mode 3. Codename, Awakening. Mode 3 is our most aggressive, wildest setting. It unlocks the maximum power of the engine. It leaves full control of the bike to the tacit bond between the system and the rider. Gao Fei's eyes instantly lit up with excitement. Copy that. The blue Yamaha Rem charged back onto the track. Its performance this time was totally different from this morning. It was like a wild beast that had broken free of its chains. It dove into the first corner with a ferocity and precision no one had ever seen before. In the data center, Lin Yi's hands were moving over the keyboard, so fast they were almost a blur. He was monitoring every system parameter in real time, ready to handle any unexpected situation at any time. I kept my eyes glued to the timing screen. First sector, purple. Second sector, purple. And purple means the fastest time across the entire pit lane. Everyone watching the screens noticed this incredible sight. All eyes were fixed on that blue number 46 racing bike. Is Hongyuan power out of their minds? Who's number 46, Gaofei? What the hell is he on? Murmurs of discussion popped up everywhere. In the Tianlu team pit, the smile on Watanabe's face froze. He snatched the binoculars from the technician next to him and stared intently at the track. Ling Feng also stopped chatting and laughing with the reporters. He looked at the big screen with a solemn expression. Final corner sprint, when Gaofei sped across the finish line. Like a bolt of lightning, time seemed to stand still at that moment. The bright red number on the timing screen stung everyone's eyes. 158.8, a new track record. The entire pit lane fell deathly silent. Then a deafening wave of amazement and uproar erupted. In our Hongyuan power pit, everyone was hugging each other like crazy, jumping up and down with joy. Old Liu, a man in his 50s, actually had tears welling up in his eyes. Out on the track, Gaofei performed a celebratory move where he lifted the front wheel high as a tribute. The roar of the engine was its victory cry. Right as we were celebrating, Yuichi Watanabe, face livid, brought two technicians to the entrance of our pit. He stared daggers at me, like an enraged wild animal. What the hell did you people do? I looked at him, with a calm smile on my face. I pointed to the small, unassuming black box mounted on the bike. Mr. Watanabe, let me introduce you to something. This is our independently developed traction control system. We named it Keelan. Yuichi Watanabe's face was darker than Shanghai's gloomy sky. He stared at me fiercely, like a caged animal. Independently developed. He ground out those 4 words through his teeth, full of disbelief and sarcasm. With you people? A ragtag team like you? You dare to talk about developing your own tech? Stop joking around. You must have stolen our data. Or used some illegal trick. He started roaring, losing all his usual composure, faced with his accusations. I just smiled. Mr. Watanabe, if you lose, you have to admit it. Making excuses just makes you look even more pathetic. As for whether we're a ragtag team or not, Sunday's main race will give you the answer. With that, I ignored him and turned around to walk back into our pit. His furious, frustrated roar came from behind me. The entire afternoon, the Tianlu team pit was shrouded in a tense, gloomy atmosphere. They held several emergency meetings. I bet they're frantically studying our race footage, trying to figure out the secret to our speed. But they're bound to be disappointed. Killen's strength isn't in the racing line for a single corner, but in the confidence it gives riders to push their limits. It's something almost metaphysical, but also a science. It's something they can never copy. Sunday, race day. The weather was perfect, with bright sunshine all around. 5 red lights above the track lit up one by one. Everyone's heart was in their throat. The red lights went out. The race is on. Gaofei got a perfect start. With the precise launch control of the Kirin system, he was like a cannonball straight out of the barrel. He was the first to dive into turn 1. Ling Feng was right on his tail. Right from the very start, the 2 cars got into a fierce, tight battle. The whole track became nothing but their stage. All the drivers behind were quickly left far behind. They kept overtaking each other back and forth. Every attack and defense was super thrilling. Every side-by-side run was bursting with sparks. Ling Feng is truly one of the top domestic drivers. With the support of the electronic system, his speed was breathtakingly fast. Several times he used the system's advantage when exiting corners to overtake Gaofei. But Gaofei always had the Kirin system to rely on, which had superior performance in braking and apex, stability to grab the position back. Both of their lap times stayed steady under 1 minute 59 seconds. They were so fast that all commentators were rambling incoherently. The race reached a fever pitch. Yuichi Watanabe paced nervously back and forth in the pit room. His eyes were glued to the gap shown on the screen. It was a nearly negligible 0.1 second gap. He couldn't figure out why the rival's system was in no way inferior to Mycronic in performance. It was even better in some aspects. That makes no sense. It went against all his decades of professional experience. I sat calmly in the data center. Lin Yi was right in front of me. His fingers were flying across the keyboard. Brother Joe, Gaofei's heart rate is a bit high. It's 165. Tell him to calm down. Slow his pace a little. Ling Feng's rear tires are starting to wear down. His chance comes in the last 3 laps. I picked up the walkie-talkie. Gaofei, do you copy? Loud and clear. Brother Joe. His heavy breathing came through the headset. Don't fight him head on. Stick with him, keep your pace around 159.5. Let him take the lead. Let him wear out his tires. Wait for my order in the last 3 laps. Switch to mode 4. Copy that. On the track. Gao Fei really slowed his pace by a few tenths of a second. Ling Feng seized the chance to overtake him and started trying to pull away. Cheers erupted in the Tianlu team's pit room. A smile returned to Yuichi Watanabe's face. He's just too young after all. Can't keep his cool? Gao Fei's tires must have hit their limit too. Hold steady, Ling Feng. Keep this pace. He thought the scales of victory had started tipping in their favor. Little did he know, this was exactly the deadly trap I set for him. The third last lap, Ling Feng's lead was only 0.5 seconds. That's a very dangerous gap. His rear tires under the HD camera already showed obvious graining, but Gao Fei's tires were in really good condition. It's time, Gao Fei. My voice was cold and clear. Kirin Mode 4, codename Hunt. Go overtake him for me. Copy that. Gao Fei's voice was filled with suppressed, boundless excitement and fighting spirit. On the car's dashboard, the mode number jumped from 3 to 4 at that moment. He felt the whole car change completely. The engine's roar became even louder and higher pitched. Throttle response got way more aggressive. The whole car was like a woken prehistoric beast, showing its most ferocious fangs. The last corner, the most famous and most challenging, ultra-long high-speed right-hander on Shanghai circuit, Ling Feng had already started lifting off the throttle, getting ready to enter the long straight, but Gao Fei didn't. Not only did he not lift off, he pushed the throttle even harder. He took a suicidal line that no one could understand, cutting in from the outside line. He's crazy. The commentator screamed in horror. Yuichi Watanabe's eyes popped wide open. Impossible, at this speed. This lean angle. He's gonna die. But a miracle happened. In the 0.01 seconds right before the bike slid out of control, the Kirin system intervened precisely at a frequency of thousands of times per second. It was like an invisible big hand, steadily holding the tipping bike up, converting all the power into pure forward speed. Under the watch of the whole world, that blue Yamaha Rem moved in a way that defied the laws of physics, sticking to the very outer edge of the track. Overtook the red and white Tianlu bike when exiting the corner, side by side, then pulled ahead. When Gao Fei entered the long straight first, with a lead of 1 full bike length, the whole world went crazy. The moment the checkered flag waved, Hongyuan Power's pit room was completely turned into a sea of joy. We won. Not only did we win, but we won in the most incredible and soul-stirring way possible. After Gao Fei crossed the finish line, he excitedly pumped his fist towards the sky. He did a victory lap around the track, accepting cheers and respect from tens of thousands of spectators. That day, he became a legend in one race, and our team's name, along with that mysterious Kylan system, also became the stuff of legend. Across the entire Chinese racing community, Tianlu Racing Team's pit room was dead silent. Ling Feng stumbled back to the pits, completely disheartened, and didn't say a single word. This race didn't just beat him. It shattered every last bit of his pride. Yuichi Watanabe stood like a stone statue, frozen in front of the screen, muttering non-stop under his breath. Impossible, this can't be happening. All the racing knowledge he'd built over decades was completely overturned by us today in the most unapologetically brutal way. At the award ceremony, Gofi stood on the top of the podium. A gold medal hung around his neck. He held a bottle of champagne in his hand, grinning like a little kid. When he sprayed champagne all over our team, that joy of victory swept over every single one of us. The post-race press conference was all about us. All the reporters went crazy, shoving mics and cameras right in my face. Director Zhou, what exactly is the Kylan system? How did you manage to develop such a powerful system in such a short period of time? There are rumors that your technology has already surpassed top European manufacturers. Is that true? Facing countless flashing cameras, I kept a calm smile on my face. Kylan is a 100% independent R&D achievement of Hongyuan Power. It doesn't just represent technology. It represents the spirit of Chinese racers who fear no hardship, dare to take on challenges, and aren't afraid to innovate. As for whether it's surpassed European tech, I think today's race already gave the answer. My words were firm and resounding, brimming with confidence. The next day, almost every headline of auto tech related media outlets was all about us. Domestic black tech. Kylan makes stunning debut. Helps Hongyuan Power claim the championship. The power of the Chinese core. A groundbreaking technological revolution. From a ragtag team to tech king, Hong Yuan Power pulls off unbelievable upset. Our story was the talk of the town everywhere. Li Weihan's phone was blowing up nonstop. Some calls were congratulations. Others wanted to discuss cooperation. There were even several top investment firms waving checkbooks wanting to invest in our project. Li Weihan was grinning from ear to ear on the phone. "Joe Heng, you're my lucky star, kid." We hit the big time this time, right as we were gaining nationwide fame. The headquarters of Italy's Microtechnic also held an emergency high-level meeting. The meeting only had one topic, and that was the mysterious system from China, called Kylan. Word has it that after their CEO watched our race footage, he smashed his favorite coffee cup on the spot. A week later, an official email from Italy landed in my inbox. The content of the email was very simple. Mr. Antonio, CEO and CTO of Microsonic, hopes to personally lead a team to visit our base at a time convenient for us for a friendly technical exchange. I smiled looking at this humbly worded email. I knew they weren't here to exchange ideas. They were here to pay homage, or rather, to beg for mercy. The West's technological monopoly was shattered by our own hands on this day. At the same time, in another part of the city, someone I'd almost completely forgotten about also saw the news about me. Wang Bin saw my photo on a pop-up news alert in a noisy internet cafe. In the photo, I was in a sharp suit, looking energetic and successful, speaking confidently at the press conference. He, on the other hand, was unshaven, reeking of cigarette smoke, with only 20 yuan left in his pocket. His life had completely fallen apart. In the past few months, his dad went to prison, his mom was seriously ill, his company went bankrupt. Debt collectors were hounding him non-stop. He went from being a privileged golden boy to a pariah everyone despised. He sold everything he could sell, just to barely pay off the compensation he owed me, but his life was completely ruined. He'd fantasized about getting revenge on me countless times. He wanted to make me totally disgraced. But when he saw what I had achieved in the news, a height he could never even hope to reach, all his resentment turned into endless despair and fear. He finally realized I had never even considered him a rival. There was a whole world of difference between us. He collapsed into the chair, staring at my face on the screen. His eyes were hollow. That night, someone found him by the Huangpu River. He was taken away by the police for suspected fraud and illegal fundraising. Another legal trial is waiting for him ahead. Mr. Chen told me this news. I just responded with a calm "oh" after hearing it. I didn't feel the slightest stir in my heart, because I've already set my sights on farther places. There's a wider world and stronger opponents there. An era that belongs to Kirin has just begun. 2 years later, at Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Belgium, the site of the World Endurance Championship, deafening engine roars echoed through the forests of the Ardennes Mountains. I stood on the viewing platform of the pit garage, wearing a team uniform printed with the Kirin inside logo. My identity is no longer the technical director of Hong Yuan Power Racing Team, but the CEO of Hong Yuan Kirin Technology. That victory 2 years ago completely changed the fate of all of us. With the full support of Li Weihan, we officially separated the R&D department from the racing team and established the current company. We focus on high-performance vehicle, electronic control system R&D. After 2 years of iteration, the Kirin system has evolved to its 4th generation. Its performance has fully surpassed that of Mechatronic, making it the world's most top-tier TCU solution available today. In all top motorcycle and car racing events around the world, from MotoGP to WRC, from 24 hours of Le Mans to 24 hours of Nürburgring, over 1/3 of the racing cars have a heart beating with our Chinese Kirin chip. We have become the rule makers of the industry. On the track, a Ferrari 499P equipped with our latest system is competing with a Porsche 963 in the final do-or-die battle. There's only one lap left. The Ferrari driver relied on the Kirin system's unrivaled stability at Eau Rouge corner and successfully completed the overtake. In the end, he finished with a narrow lead of 0.2 seconds, crossing the finish line in first place. We won. Deafening cheers erupted in the pit garage. Lin Yi, Mr. Chen, Li Weihan, and I hugged each other tightly. Lin Yi is our CTO now. He still has that unkempt, casual look, but his eyes shine with the light of a genius. Mr. Chen, my former boss, later became one of our company's angel investors. His kindness back then earned him a 100-fold return. Li Weihan, our chairman, has already Started planning the company's IPO. The prototype of a tech giant is slowly rising. At the celebration dinner, we were toasting and drinking merrily. Mr. Antonio, CEO of Micronic, also came. He held up his wine glass and spoke to me in English with a heavy Italian accent. He said, "Joe, my friend, I have to admit, you and your team are the greatest innovators of this era. You've changed the entire landscape of the industry. Being your partner is the greatest honor of my life. 2 years ago, they still saw us as thieves, but now they've become our largest distributor in Europe. This is the respect that strength brings." Back in Shanghai, on the top floor of the company headquarters, there is a showroom not open to the public. Right in the center of the showroom, a motorcycle sits quietly. It's a Kawasaki Ninja H2, carbon fiber limited edition. It's wiped spotless and still glows with a breathtaking light under the lamps. I never rode this bike again. It has become the totem of our company and the starting point of all our stories. Every new employee will be brought here to listen to me tell its story about the 350,000 yuan invoice, about that stupid, greedy neighbor, about that seemingly insignificant dispute that changed everything. I often stand in front of this bike alone for a very long time, and my heart is always filled with endless emotions. I often think, if when faced with Wang Jianjun's provocation back then, I had chosen to argue, chosen to get angry, chosen to settle it privately, then none of what we have today would have ever happened. I would have kept working as a project manager, making a decent, not great salary, living a decent, nothing special life, then stuck in day-to-day mediocrity. I would have slowly grown old, but luckily I didn't choose that path. I picked the calmest, most rational, and most uncompromising approach possible. I chose to trust the law, the evidence, and the rules. I used a method my opponent could never wrap his head around, to deal him the most crushing, overwhelming blow. And it was this persistence and this clear-headedness that pried open a crack in my life, leading to a brand new world. Lots of people say it was the 350,000 yuan motorcycle that completely changed my destiny. But I know better. That bike wasn't what actually changed my fate. It was the courage I had when injustice hit. The courage to use my wisdom and principles to defend my own dignity. I picked up my phone and called Gao Fei. He's now our racing team's manager as well as the official brand ambassador of our company. "Hey bro Joe, what's up? Are you free tonight?" I smiled. "Wheel my H2 down from upstairs. Let's go for a mountain ride."